Good afternoon, my friends. TheFreind here, and today I'm featuring a very special guest. Please introduce the magnanimous Mr. Fox.
Hello, good morning.
How are you, my good man?
I ain't got no complaints. Life is pretty good. YouTube grind is going fine, and I'm just glad to be here.
Hell yeah, that's what I want to hear. So, Fox, you've come down here with a request for Kael'thas. Why Kael'thas? Why this man of all people?
Well, if you know anything about me and the games that I play, I love me some fire. I like burning things, I like exploding things. The pop, the crackle, it makes me feel good inside.
Mmm, respectable man as your fellow Ragnaros player. I could totally be up your alley.
I just play fire mages on pretty much every game. I have to try. I have to see what people's take on it is, no matter
Hell
what. I
yeah.
don't know why I've gravitated towards it over the years, but I just have.
I can totally respect that, man. I don't know, like elemental mages just feel right for me. It's super cliche, it's tropey. I don't care. It's badass. Like you got
Yeah,
these big spells going on. I really liked Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know, when I was watching that, so maybe that's where my influence came from.
that makes sense.
Fair enough. So, today we are featuring Mr. Kael'thas. Why Kael'thas of all heroes? Kael'thas is, he's a mid to long range type mage with excellent wave clear and supreme area of effect team fighting abilities. This man, honestly, he brings everything that you might want from a mage, and I really don't know why he feels weak, even though his base kit just feels perfect to me. I think maybe his numbers are a little bit low, but they have to be intentionally reined back because of the way they spread and multiply very quickly, blah, blah, blah. But fundamentally,
hmm
he is a late game type hero. If you're struggling a little bit in the early game, make sure that you play for the later stages of the game, as he brings some very good utility for the team, especially the 4-man. What do you think about that, Mr. Fox?
Well, I can see what you're saying about weaknesses, but I wouldn't really say he's weak or undertuned. What he is generic. I played 19,308 games at the time of this recording, most of them in quick match. And so what I've learned over the many, many years and many, many hours that I've played that if you want to be successful in the chaotic mess that is quick match, you need to be reliable. You need
Mm-hmm.
to have a generic kit that can cover a wide variety of situations and be effective so that you can cover any holes that you come across in your team's gameplay, in your
Mm-hmm.
team's composition. And Kael'thas fits that to a T. He's got an ability. Well, his spells basically encompass every single type of spell that there is in the game. He's got Q, ground area of effect
Mm-hmm.
spells. He's got a point and click sticky damage W. He's got a skill shot on his E, and his ultimates are also pretty much the same. Pretty easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Point and click, ground area target. As well, his trait basically gives him 2 action bars because it empowers each one of his abilities, giving them some extra kick, some extra gas
Mm-hmm.
that lets him cover even more situations that he can come across.
That's
I
right.
would say his damage numbers are actually pretty decent. He does pretty high damage, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see why. I can see why he's not as favored over more specialized mages because their spells are more flashy. Their spells are maybe even more bursty or better in specific scenarios, whereas Kael'thas is just kind of good overall.
It's a very good way of putting it, honestly. I think Kael'thas probably thrives best in the quick match environments. If you have like a tankless game and it's a long range mage versus long range mage, I think Kael'thas is very comfortable in such circumstances. The prevalence of Pyroblast when the enemy heroes do not have ways to deal with it. You've got your tornado just in case somebody comes up. You do fall prey to melee and stealth assassins pretty frequently. That is the caveat of quick match. But like you say, you're pretty versatile. You can still make it work somehow, and you do have a lot of wave clear. And really, if
Yes.
you can rely upon anybody to do the wave clearing, you can always rely upon yourself. And Kael'thas absolutely is pretty happy to do that.
Yes. Yeah, he deletes waves instantly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. If you got no more to say, I think maybe now's the time to start talking about his ability palette.
Let's get into it.
Very well. Although sometimes I start with traits, sometimes I don't. This time I think we're going to go over each ability, and then actually, you know what? I'm going to talk about the trait first, and then we're going to talk about each ability in turn. So, Verdant
Sure.
Spheres. It's an activatable trait. Kael'thas doesn't have anything passive. You activate it, it makes your next ability slightly more powerful, and has a 6-second cooldown from the time that you expend your next ability. Pretty straightforward. Each ability has a different effect, so we're going to be talking about that in just a second. Q, Flame Strike. 70 mana, 7-second cooldown. 10 mana per second, and after a 1-second delay, you deal 345 damage in a small area. You cast this at range, puts a little circle on the ground, goes boom. And if you like, you can empower it with your traits to increase the radius by 50%. This does not increase the damage, this does not increase anything else, it's just the radius, just in case you need to cover a wider area. What do you think about Flame Strike for Kael'thas, Mr. Fox?
I love Flame Strike. And now, first, before we actually get into it, the 1-second delay after you cast it is a lie. It's actually 1.25 seconds. Which is kind of, it's a little misleading. It's actually a slightly longer cast time than you would expect. And it does great damage, 345 at level 1, which is fantastic. So it can be used for single target, it can be used for multi-target, and it has great range. So if you're standing where you should be, which we'll talk about when we get to Living Bomb, if you're standing where you should be, you can easily hit the backline of a fight with an empowered Flame Strike.
Yes. Flame Strike is a pretty reliable ability. The 1 second, I think maybe the cast time is factored in because usually when most hotbars describe, hey, after X amount of seconds, this thing happens, usually it doesn't include the ability cast time, even though that's an essential component to it.
That's exactly what it is. Yep. That's exactly
I suppose
what
so.
it is.
It's the first match from Ragnaros. It's even though you have like a tiny 1/8 of a second like wind up, it still lands after 3/4 of a second. Exactly so. So in my opinion, I think this is probably still a 1-second delay. So don't fret too much. Find anybody that's stunned, standing still for any reason. Maybe they're channeling an ability or an objective. Drop the Q. Usually hits them big damage. And
boom.
Yeah, if you are trying to chase somebody and they're at the tip of your range and you feel like it might be a hard hit, feel free to empower the Q to make sure, because the radius increase is pretty substantial. Better to use your trait on your Q to land a hit versus no hits if it comes to that, but if you can already hit it, don't use your D on it. Why? Because radius increase does not increase your damage. If you're already hitting the target, you're not getting any extra value. Unless you're hitting more targets, then that's another thing.
Exactly.
As for wave clearing, Mr. Fox, how would you wave clear with Flame Strike?
You would use it to finish off a wave that you have cast Living Bomb on. So Kael'thas' Flame Strike can hit the entirety of the wave unempowered. It's a little tricky to do, but if you center it exactly on the mage minion, you can hit the entire wave. It's not going to clear the whole wave by itself, but if you Living Bomb the mage minion at the same time, the whole wave goes boom. Early game, it's going to take 2 Living Bombs, one on each side of the wave, to clear the whole wave. But after about, level 7, I would say that with your free Verdant Spheres Living Bomb and a Flame Strike, the whole wave is just gone.
Yep, and then just weave in a few auto attacks to finish it off. Kael'thas has a pretty easy time clearing out. I call these H-shape waves. Basically, waves in equilibrium. They're not really favored one way or another, and everybody's clumped up together in this H-looking shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's perfect world. Perfect world. You can hit the whole wave with your Q.
Exactly.
But they're usually offset in some way.
Yeah, sometimes when a wave grows to excessive size, sometimes it starts to bulge out. At that point, your Q might have a little bit of trouble hitting them all. Feel free to empower it, at that point. Hey, clear the whole wave at a quicker pace at the cost of some mana. It's up to you to decide, but there's going to be a common theme for Kael'thas. This man is mana hungry. He will guzzle it by the gallon.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Oh man, he is certainly addicted to the mana.
Oh, burying the lead a little bit there.
And yeah, all things considered, Flame Strike is a pretty straightforward ability. It's actually relatively easy to land the skill shot on other enemies, heroes. If you track like the type of hero and what they plan to do, say, I don't know, what's a good example here? Sometimes a Rainer is going to stroll up in range, and then usually he's just going to, as soon as he's at the 6.5 range mark where he can start right-clicking, he stops to do the right-click. Sometimes he moves, sometimes he sits there for a second. If you just put the Q on an invisible 6.5 range radius around you, it will hit them as soon as they stop to commit their attack. Essentially, you're looking for opportunities for enemy heroes to stop where they're at, commit their action, and then the Flame Strike punishes them for taking that action.
Exactly.
And then always look out for opportunities from your team, your Garrosh, your Mei, your Varian. If they've got any form of CC, hold on to your Q, wait for the slows, wait for the stunts so you can guarantee it, because it feels really bad missing this. Although the cooldown's pretty generous, you definitely want to be landing all the skill shots you can as a mage. There's no excuse not to, that's how it is.
The cooldown is generous, the mana cost is not.
Yes! And sometimes that's a bad combo, because it'll make you go dry very quickly.
Convection Kael'thas is in the room? Anyone?
We're gonna tear that one up when we get there. So, I think that's all there has to be said about Q. I'm gonna move on to Living Bomb.
Living Bomb, my favorite ability, the best ability that Kael'thas has. He gets a free one with his trait. He gets a free one. So you get 2 living bombs every 6-10 seconds, whatever. And it does a ton of damage. It does so much damage, more than you would expect. And it's guaranteed damage.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed. You just point it at someone, you click on them, and then they're on fire. And then it's up to them whether or not more damage is done. Because after 3 seconds, the bomb explodes and spreads to all of his friends that are nearby. You can catch so many people off guard with this. My favorite little trick is to set minions on fire. Minions and gates, but minions more often, because sometimes there'll be a fight going on around a minion wave, and people are crowding around their little army because it makes them feel safer, because it can block skill shots and stuff like that. But the minion has like a sliver of health left. And so you just bomb that sucker, and poof, then you have a 4-target spread, everyone's on fire, freaking out, panicking, the fight is yours.
Yes. So, how Living Bomb works, it's a pretty cheap ability, all things considered. 50 mana, very generous, 10-second cooldown, not so generous, but when empowered by trait, like Fox says, you get a free cast of Living Bomb. No mana cost, no cooldown, you spend your trait for it, and you got a second one ready to go. And when you put that on the bomb, it's going to be burning for 3 seconds, doing moderate amounts of burn damage, but then it explodes for 215 damage to all nearby enemies, including the one that you put it on. The reason why this hurts so much is when it spreads to you, like when it explodes and you're not the primary target. First, you suffer the explosion damage, so that's 215. And then you get a full instance of Living Bomb applied to you, which is 126 plus 215. So in reality, you're taking 66% more damage by being the secondary target. This is how Living Bomb works, and why it's agonizing when you get hit by it, because you're taking 560 damage because of the fact that it was spread onto you. Whereas if Kael'thas targets on you directly, it's only 340. Well, only 340 is pretty funny, but it's a little bit lengthy. If you're trying to kill somebody as quickly as possible, having to wait 3 seconds is pretty meandering, but all things considered, it's not something you worry about too much. You just let it rip on them. They'll take damage. It's very strong. Let's see, what else? Oh, it's also point and click, Very rare feature of a mage that you have like point and click basic abilities, but this makes Kael'thas pretty good in lane because he can just walk up to somebody. If they're bothering him, he just does a DW on them, and they really can't answer it because it's guaranteed 340 damage for no mana, no cooldown. It's a very strong trading tool.
Free damage. Its cast range is also the same range as his auto attack range, so if you're close enough to bomb someone, you're close enough to get some right clicks off.
Absolutely. And then do make liberal use of the trick that Fox recommends. Try to manipulate the minion wave's health in such a way so that you can maybe bait an enemy hero into approaching them and then put the bomb onto a low health minion. Because as soon as something dies with Living Bomb, it will explode. So you can circumnavigate the 3-second delay by preemptively making them die, which forces the bomb to explode sooner than expected, which can catch a lot of people off guard. Or if they're trying to get away from the person with the bomb, well, too bad. They died so quickly, now they had no time to get away from the moment they saw them. So, yeah, Kael'thas is good in minion waves. You ideally want to find opportunities to fight around them. And he's also pretty good into summoner-based heroes, because those count as valid targets for Living Bomb. And if you hit something like a Cho'Gall Eye, they only have 3 instances of health. The bomb very quickly burns through it, and it explodes, which does bonus damage onto everything around it. So look for opportunities and enemy summons to put bombs on.
Nobody expects the minion bomb. Nobody.
Unless you do it to them twice over, and then they're going to be very paranoid. But at that point, it gives you a lot of space in the lane. And effectively, yeah, it allows you to just walk up to a minion wave, you clear everything, you grab the globe, and you skedaddle. And by scaring them, they're not going to interfere with your plans, which is very important, because ideally you don't want to give them the smoke this early.
It's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage. For free. How often do you... Well, obviously, I think I'm going to tell you how I do Verdant Spheres. Verdant Spheres, Living Bomb early game, is really good. Kael'thas has his most amount of mana problems early on in the game. Finding a way to cut his mana cost dramatically is a big deal. And plus, the damage is very respectable. You're not really in a rush to do things in the early game. Yeah, you're clearing out some mercenary camps, you're clearing out some waves, but you're not really in the midst of a level 20 fight where half seconds will be the difference between life and death. You're just taking it slow and easy, the high life, so to say. So feel free to use your trait on your W as often as possible in the early game. There's no reason really to put it onto your Q unless you need it to land a specific long-range target that you can't reach otherwise, or a really big fat mini wave, and yeah, life is good.
I think I know where you're going with this, and I would agree too. Are we talking about the next ability?
Correct. Gravity Lapse.
Yeah. Gravity Lapse, one of the best stuns.
This is a very strong stun, and it's very fortunate that a non-tank gets access to a stun, which is pretty cool. Big mana cost at 90, which is actually kind of ludicrous. With a moderate cooldown of 12 seconds, you toss out Tornado, stuns the first enemy hit for 1 second. No questions asked. It's an excellent follow-up tool. If your tank stuns somebody for half a second, that is a clear path for you to launch your Tornado. Now you just doubled or tripled the CC chain. It's very good. Stuns are great in this game. What's really OP about this is when you empower this with your trait, this stuns the first 3 enemies hit. So if there's somebody in the way that you don't want to hit, like a minion, just empower it. It allows you to hopefully skim through it and hit the intended target behind. Plus, it increases the stun duration by 50%. So now everything is stunned by 1.5 seconds. What do you think about this ability, Mr. Fox?
I love this ability. Like you said, it's a great follow-up tool. Pretty much, I just stand around waiting for the tank to do something. As soon as he's got his target in his grasp, empower the stun, throw it out there. Maybe you hit more than one target, but you definitely hit the one that's gonna die.
Yep.
1.5 second stun is no joke.
Absolutely not. Generally speaking, Kael'thas brings a substantial amount of lethality to a group rotation, because if the tank catches one person, it's not just the tank CC they have to contend with. Kael'thas comes in with his high damage burst and high, well, it's not really high, but it's very respectable. A stun type is good. 1.5 second stun is great, and you just follow up with them.
Exactly. I usually hold on to the E either to peel for myself or my team, or to follow up on someone else's CC. Very rarely will I go out of my way to start a CC chain with Gravity Lapse, because I'm probably out of position already. If I'm that close to the enemy team, I'm probably out of position, which means my team is not ready to follow up on it. So maybe I'll throw one out just to disrupt someone who's channeling an ability, but it's better to hold on to Gravity Lapse rather than throw it out on cooldown.
You're exactly right in that regard. Generally speaking, Kael'thas wants to be in his own backline, like very far from the fight. Although the Tornado does have good range, from the range that you're casting at, the only target you're probably hitting is either a bruiser or a tank, which are Not very high priority targets. If you're in range of an assassin, great. But this also leaves yourself vulnerable, so sometimes you're not in that position to begin with. So it's probably best to keep it in your reserve, in your back pocket, unless you know for a fact that the tank has something that can punish a gravity lapse target, but usually it's vice versa. You prefer the tank to go first, and then the gravity lapse comes after because of the reliability. But yeah, I totally agree with how Fox says it. There is one exception though. If you empower your trait, if you empower your gravity lapse, and you see a line of enemies, feel free to let it rip because one target, 1 second stun is if your team is in position, sure. If your team is kind of like if it's very chaotic, nothing probably happens. But if you successfully empower it and you hit 3 targets, that's a collective 4.5 seconds of stunning that you've put onto the enemy front line, which is very disruptive. And at that point, your team will benefit a lot from you starting the stun. But you have to be pretty confident that you're willing to blow your trait and your tornado on a pretty big gambit. But if you feel like you're in good position to do it, go at it, Chief. If you pull it off, you win the fight.
Exactly. High risk, high reward. It's expensive, but it can do a lot.
Yeah. And there are some very useful talents for the tornado at level 4 that will change the way and how you approach it. It will also give you a few new tricks as well. So do stay tuned for that. Mr. Fox, how do you use your traits for all of these abilities? In what circumstance would you use each one for?
Pretty much everything that we've discussed already. I use Verdant Spheres to get a free living bomb wherever I can, so I'm not spending mana so that I can have mana when a team fight breaks out. Whenever I can just barely reach someone to hit them with a Flame Strike to finish them off, or to get a little extra poke damage, I'll empower the Flame Strike, but it's very low priority. The highest priority is definitely following up on crowd control with Gravity Lapse. And then it's Gravity Lapse, Living Bomb, Flame Strike, in that order.
Yes. And generally speaking, this order kind of maintains. This order is always maintained throughout the course of the game until maybe the late game, where some towns will dramatically improve the power of your Q. At that point, you might be incentivized to press D for your Q to increase the odds of you landing it. But more on that a little bit later. Those are basically his basic abilities. Launch, wait for your tank to do stuff. Launch your gravity lapse after. W, Q, you're having a good time. Everything just follows through.
Exactly.
And with that, that should be his basic abilities covered. Time for the heroics. And the first one in line is the Phoenix. This is a 60-second cooldown heroic, which is very generous. You're going to be having this up all the time for everything you want. You launch a Phoenix towards an area. It will deal it'll do 1 right click's worth of damage on everything that passes through, and then once it lands at its area, it stays there for the next 7 seconds, right clicking whatever is closest to it. Ideally a hero if there is, and then it pummels them for 84 damage per second. It also splashes a little bit for a little bit of bonus damage. Basic area denial tool is not the most damaging ability in the game, but it's pretty decent for the cooldown, and allows you to just let it rip quite often. Fox, what do you think of Phoenix?
Well, keeping in theme with Kael'thas as being as generic a mage as possible, Phoenix is a pretty generically useful ult. You can use it to clear big waves, you can use it to take camps on your own. You like you said, you can deny an area or some path that the enemy's trying to go through. It doesn't actually do, like, it throws out a big circle, right? And you might think that that big circle is what it's dealing damage to. No, it picks one target and focuses it and deals splash damage around it. So if there's multiple heroes inside the Phoenix, only one of them is going to get hit, and the other ones will only take damage if they're near them. So it's a little misleading, the big orange circle that it puts out there.
Yeah.
I will also say, sorry.
I just had a tangential thought. Wouldn't it be a really badass idea for level 20 that this hits everything in its area of effect?
that'd be pretty strong.
Yeah, quite necessary for the kind of power this brings in. Anyways, continue on with your thought.
I think I lost it. It's gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Keep going on. No
we're
worries,
talking. we're talking about it's being in an area, it only hits one target at a time, and then
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does prioritize heroic targets over
mhm,
anything else in it. So if there's if you throw it on a minion wave and then an enemy player walks in, it'll start hitting the enemy player.
yes, and that's pretty important to know. So it's kind of hard for the Phoenix to lose track of not damaging an enemy hero, but typically speaking, with its positioning, what ends up happening is you toss the Phoenix, maybe it hits your intended target like 3 to 4 times, and then they move out of range, and somebody else moves closer in range, and then it swaps targets. In this game, it's not a good thing whenever damage is spread out rather than being focused. If you're not focusing the same target throughout the whole fight, this leaves you wide open to the healer, disrupting your plans. Maybe they have area of effect healing. All of that gets wasted. A lot of heroes have self-healing, and maybe they have engages and disengages, so they get out of the fight. So if you don't score a kill for the resources you spend, you're in dire straits. And Phoenix, I'm afraid, more often than not, does not always focus the same target you want to kill. And 7 seconds is a very lengthy duration. It's... how do I describe this? Considering that Jaina can unload her whole combo in like 3/4 of a second flat, like for 900 damage, and Ragnar's can do it even faster, like, I don't know, probably 2000 damage if you have Sulfurous Smash at the ready. Kael'thas has to contend with the fact that he needs to wait 7 seconds to, at most, deal 640 damage with Phoenix, and then, including his abilities, maybe you reach the 1300 mark. 7 seconds is a very long time. So this is
Yeah,
its main drawback.
you don't take Phoenix because you're gonna get kills with it. You take Phoenix because it has a
Mm-hmm.
pretty short cooldown for an ultimate, and it can be used, like I said, to like take camps or
Mm-hmm.
add damage to a boss or something like that. It's not it's not gonna scare people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna get kills, but it will add bonus damage into like a big brawly team fight,
Mm-hmm.
or just help you with map stuff.
Exactly. And with its reliability, you can drop it onto the ground. Since it's right clicking, it doesn't miss its damage. So it's quite useful if you're having trouble like targeting a fast tracer. Maybe this is Zeratul jumping around. Phoenix is pretty handy when you're standing in its radius. It'll help you deal reliable damage, no questions asked. With its low cooldown, just let it rip, on any circumstance you want. It's just bonus damage, really, like a fourth basic ability.
Yep. Yep, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. I will say, though, the 7-second duration does make it an S tier ability when it comes to stalling channel-based objectives. Say you're doing, I don't know, nukes on Warhead Junction, the temples, the altars on Towers of Doom, any type of seeds. The Phoenix's existence is going to prevent them from capturing it for the whole 7-second duration. So it's very good for stalling.
Oh yeah, it's got good range too. You can throw that out from quite a ways
Yeah,
away.
absolutely. And with its good range, one thing you could do is you could have it penetrate deep into the enemy team and have it like wedge in the middle. Even though it doesn't do much damage, if you're able to orient it in such a way that the closest target is the intended target, so you just put it off to the side a little bit, so you force it to attack a certain target. This is one way of manipulating the Phoenix AI to kill whoever it is you want to do. And yeah, this is pretty important if you're doing it over walls, because that's going to aid you in making sure it hits the right target.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. One last tip, although I'm not entirely sure if it's a tip that's going to improve your gameplay or not. Sometimes it's nice just letting it go into the enemy backline, because at that point, the healer, any squishy hero, like, they kind of don't like being hit by Phoenix. It does enough damage to raise their eyebrows, but it's going to do nothing to the enemy tank. So by putting it into the enemy backline, they have to make a decision whether or not they want to stay within the Phoenix area or they get scared away out of it. And if they get scared away out of it, that's actually probably best case scenario, because this thing it's not so threatening that it's going to kill them, so forcing them away is actually probably a bigger win.
Yeah, it deals psychological damage.
That's right. I mean, it's a big mesmerizing bird. Like, it should be psychological. Hmm. Hmm. That's all I got to say about Phoenix. It's not the best heroic in the game, but for its low cooldown, its ease of use, being able to drop it anywhere you want without a second thought, it makes it decent. It's a generic ultimate, like the rest of his kit is.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
Mm-hmm.
very, very iconic of what Kael'thas is.
Absolutely. I think there's something a little bit more iconic, though, and that would definitely be the Pyroblast. Time to move over. So, even though Kael'thas has some quite generic abilities, I think Pyroblast is very unique in its effects in that this is basically a tiny sun in the palm of your hands. For a
Mm-hmm.
massive 100-second cooldown, after a second and a half of channeling, you will cast a slow-moving fireball that will explode, dealing 810 damage to an enemy hero. If you so happen to catch any nearby enemy heroes, they also suffer half the damage in the area of effect when it explodes. This scales with 5% scaling rather than 4%. So over the course of the game, Pyroblast is going to go up to something like, I don't know, 2,300 damage at level 20. So yeah, it
Significant.
scales to a very high number later in the game. This is, I don't know, Pyroblast is usually a death sentence for certain heroes, but for how slow it moves, there could be a lot of counterplay. Fox, would you like to describe how does the Pyroblast work?
There is a lot of counterplay to Pyroblast, and people will be expecting you to use it. So they'll either try to move out of range, or they'll either try to interrupt you with a stun or a displacement or something. That 1.5 seconds you're holding still going, I'm gonna get you, is a very long time for them to fuck with you.
Yeah.
That said, if they don't, they got problems because that
Yes.
fireball don't miss. It is possible to disjoint it with perfect teleport timing, but who does that?
Mm-hmm.
How often does that happen? Not doesn't happen very often.
Nah.
And one of my favorite things to do is to save it for the backline dive. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say Zeratul is creeping around in your backline and he sees you as an easy target. You're a squishy little elf. You're wearing a dress. Whatever. You're gonna die to his Vorpal blades like so fast. And he can just teleport away. He can come back, dodge all of your spells. Well, he can't dodge the sun, even if he has the spell armor. Casting all of your abilities on yourself, lighting him on fire, you're not going to hit the stun, probably. And then pyroblasting him, he's going to take a ton of damage, and you're probably both going to die. But that takes Zeratul out of the picture. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're Kael'thas, you're not really that important. So that's a worthwhile trade. You can use Pyroblast to finish off enemies, you can use Pyroblasts to start fights. I try to find any excuse I can to use Pyroblast, even if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going up against someone who can reduce its damage with spell armor or deny it completely with a protect. While it might not be the greatest trade to trade a Pyroblast for a protect, that does open that hero up for the rest of your team to dump damage on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like do they want to block the Pyroblast or do they want to block the rest of the damage?
Yeah.
It forces them to make a decision. Using it I really like casting it on squishy heroes because if you
Oh
hit them
yeah.
with your Q, a W, and the Pyroblast, they just die. There are
Mm-hmm.
plenty of heroes that Kael'thas can just one-shot. Junkrat, Nova, Hanzo, they're just gone. They have no defense. Malfurion just dies. He just dies to Pyroblast. They took away
Mm-hmm.
his Ice Blast and you just Pyroblast him and he just dies. And if you can't find an excuse to finish off a hero with Pyroblast, maybe you can find an excuse to start a fight with Pyroblast because that will get
Absolutely.
the entire team's attention. Whoever is being pyroblasted will back off, which creates space for your team, and then maybe they can get into a better position
Mm-hmm.
off of the pyroblast. You might not get full damage off of it because the other team has their defensives and they're ready for it, but you might be able to make space with it, which is just as valuable in sweaty games.
Yeah. All to the above. I got lots to add on to it. Pyroblast, for the most recent part, Pyroblast has an immense psychological factor that's put onto the enemy team. When there's a Kael'thas in the game, they're going to be thinking about Pyroblast. Like, literally before the rest of your builds, they're going to be thinking about Pyroblast, even at level 1.
Yeah,
And then they're
yeah.
going to be speccing into talents that might give them options to dodge the Pyroblast later in the game. So, when you reach level 10, and you hover your ultimates, but you don't commit to them, you can force the enemy heroes not to pick their ultimates because what if it's an Anduin and they want to do a bubble into the Pyroblast? But if you don't pick Pyroblast yet, he kind of wants to lean into the Light Bomb. You put him onto the spot and now you start the fight. You're fine not having a ultimate ability as Kael'thas. And if you need it, you pick it. It's right there to go. But Anduin wants his as soon as possible, to see how the fight is progressing and maybe he changes his tactics a little bit. Not Kael'thas. Kael'thas, he can have it ready in his back pocket for a surprise kill. And Technically speaking, at level 10, when you do pick up Pyroblast, I think it's probably at its strongest point within the game because sometimes level 13 is the mark that heroes get their spell armor. Level 20, they sometimes get ice blocks or stasis or protections or cooldown reduction on their ultimates that might deny Pyroblast, so on and so forth. So at level 10, at the most baseline level of all the talents for heroes, Pyroblast is probably at its most effectiveness, even though it might not deal as much damage. It still represents a colossal threat. And this puts a lot of pressure onto enemy poke mages, assassins, especially like the likes of Zeratul and Nova, because if Kael'thas have Pyroblast available, when these heroes go in and they're in very risky positions, they're going to be taking a lot of counter damage, and hopefully they're counting on the fact that they can get away with like 30 health. The Pyroblast has a range of 20. And so long as Kael'thas sees the target, he can easily cast a Pyroblast on them. Sometimes they might go so far it gets disjointed after the 1.5-second delay, but usually not. If they're close enough to Kael'thas, it's inevitable. The Pyroblast is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, forces choices. Forces
Mhm.
decisions.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, when Pyroblast is not used and waiting in your back pocket, heroes like Junkrat or Hanzo or Li Ming, they can't really trade with Kael'thas, because if they go underneath a certain health threshold, they're put into range of Pyroblast. And if their healer is dead, not around, or there is no healer because it's quick match, the Pyroblast can kill them. And suddenly,
Yeah.
it gains a lot of value from that.
One easy way to know if you're going to kill someone with Pyroblast is to look at how many health chunks that they have on their green health bar, because each one of those chunks is 250 HP, and so you can quickly see how much health they have and then compare it to the amount of damage your Pyroblast is doing,
Hmm.
and then you can make that call whether or not you want to use that spell on that hero.
Absolutely. This is a very
It,
important
it,
tip.
it doesn't take, yeah, it doesn't take that long to actually do the math.
Hmm. Absolutely. For the sheer amount of damage, you'll just kind of like pop down at your hotbar, check. You'll probably brag about how much damage your Pyroblast does, so you look at it every so often. Just keep that number in mind and then count the bars. It's pretty easy to come up with a decision whether or not they're in kill range, and then you go from there. Things to watch out for. Heroes with Ice Block, big no-no. You don't want to be casting on them. Heroes with armor, natural forms of armor, also probably a no, unless they're at like critical health, like, I don't know, 10% health, in which case the Pyroblast should be enough to execute them. Watch out for the type of healer on their team. Malfurion is completely useless. He's not going to be able to stop the Pyroblast in any shape or form, and his healing is usually pretty slow, so it's great
Yeah.
into him. But if it's into a Morales, if it's into a Brightwing that provides armor against your Pyroblast, suddenly a would-be kill turns into a sliver of health, and it becomes very frustrating when that happens. But hey, maybe you decommissioned the hero from the fight, so maybe that's also a good thing. Watch out for certain tanks. Sometimes they have protections and armor, so they kind of become invalid targets. A lot of bruisers are very good targets. Sometimes they have armor on command, so you gotta watch out for that. But most of them are just big health bars with high damage. Pyroblast does maximum damage to bruisers, so they're not gonna appreciate the fact that Pyroblast is coming to them, and then suddenly their lives get cut short before they do their self healing, and that actually makes it a lot more convenient to deal with them.
Yes. Yeah, it's big old ball of damage coming straight at your face. You can't dodge it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Fox, do you, if you're casting Pyroblast, do you intentionally stop the channel if you determine in that time frame that it's no longer a good idea?
Oh, you gonna make me give away all my secrets? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a complete bluff. Sometimes I'll go almost the entire channel time, and then they hear the pyroblast being cast on them, and then they will take defensive measures. They will reposition. They will use their defensive preemptively, and I just stop casting it, and then I get pyroblast again in 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So you can bait enemy healers into panicking hard when the Pyroblast is being cast, and then just last second stop it. So feel free to abuse this mechanic. Sometimes it might go against your favor, like if you're in. Say you're clicking onto the enemy hero, you want to kill them, you accidentally right-click and you cancel your own Pyroblast. That is something that can happen. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to beat out of yourself. You know, the humiliation is going to keep you on your toes, not to cancel your own Pyroblast. Just be sure that the ability gets cast, or use shift clicking. By shift clicking, the Pyroblast gets cast, and then you continue to move on, do whatever it is you want, if you want to make sure that happens. Otherwise, I usually don't shift click the Pyroblast because sometimes I do want to cancel the Pyroblast if I determine that the healing came too quickly and they're out of range. 10-second cooldown versus 100-second cooldown, it's a pretty obvious decision, but sometimes you might want the Pyroblast in the 10 seconds, so be judicial.
Yeah, it's all about it's all about forcing choices.
Yeah, forcing choices, and yeah. A lot to talk about Pyroblast, but it all comes down to executing a target, following an assassin, or starting a fight. Especially when you cast it onto a bruiser, or if your tank can somehow get into range and stun the enemy tank before they do their defensive tools, that's also a pretty good combo, but it takes coordination and usually skill from the tank.
Exactly.
Yep. I got no more to say about his abilities. That basically covers it. Very straightforward. His talents do give them a little bit more spice, though. If you want to move on, we can move on to level 1.
Let's go.
So it is. Starting off with the party starter here, Convection. Convection
Yes,
is
Convection.
a repeatable quest. You hit 20 enemy heroes with Flame Strike without dying. And if you succeed at that milestone, you will permanently increase his damage by 200, as well as Kael'thas' maximum health by 100. This got buffed and nerfed recently. Buffed in that you gain max health, nerfed in that you don't gain flat damage as you're progressing it. But it's usually not a big deal. But there is another big buff in that every 20 enemy heroes, this stacks a stack of Convection, where you get the permanent damage. And so if you hit the 20, 40, 60, 80 mark, you're starting to stack those 200s on top of each other, and suddenly it becomes a very, very oppressive ability when it does a lot of damage.
It can get pretty beefy. The problem is getting there. You
Yeah.
probably won't get more than 40 in a match. Like
Mm-hmm.
genuinely. You hear these dings, you get these big numbers, and you have the fucking stars in your eyes. You're like, I'm gonna be the greatest Kael'thas. I'm gonna get 120 stacks of convection. No, you won't. You'll probably
Yeah.
get 20. You might get 40, and it's just you have to be ready as well because you lose progress to the quest completion when you die. You have to be ready not to
Mm-hmm.
have a level 1 talent when you take convection. You have to be
Exactly.
prepared to play the entire game without level 1 because boy does it put a target on your head.
Mm-hmm. And of all heroes with gambits, like with the Haka, maybe he has a gambit on his feeding frenzy. It doesn't really matter because he's very beefy. He's got healing. He's got a burrow. He's got adaptation. Kael'thas has none of that. He is very easy to dive, single out, ambush, all the above. And then if you die once, you lose all progress. It's
It's
much
gone.
it's much rougher than an Alarak, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll probably get more value overall. I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but you'll probably get more value overall if you take Felon Fusion if you just want straight damage.
Hmm.
But convection is an ARAM talent. Honestly, it's an ARAM talent.
Oh yeah, and
It does
Aram.
make you. Sorry, go ahead.
Uh, I'll let you go ahead. Actually.
What I was going to say was convection also makes Kael'thas play differently. Obviously, because you don't want to die, you want to save your stacks, and you're going to be spending most of your mana on your Q rather
Hmm.
than like your stun or an extra living bomb. And so, what turns Kael'thas from like a mage that stands pretty close to the fight so that he can follow up on abilities and deal out free damage, you kind of turn into like a shitty Chromie or like a shitty Asmodan,
Hmm.
in that you stand way far back throwing out big circles and not much else. Like you don't really
Yeah.
do anything. Also, because it's a PvP quest, you're not going to want to spend as much time clearing waves when you probably should because you can delete them so quickly.
Hmm.
So you lose a lot of utility and map presence when you take convection.
Absolutely. All to the above. These are the primary reasons why convection is not very good. Even if you fight a Kael'thas and he does get his 20 stacks, and you do feel the burn from convection, it does hurt. he sacrifices so much to make it happen. So when you play Kael'thas to pick Convection, you're going to be making a lot of trade-offs to get this kind of power. And frankly, I'm not even sure if the power is even worthwhile because the
Eh.
fact that you have to,
Eh.
mm, in my opinion, like if you spend the mana, you have to spend a lot of mana in your queue, like all game long to get it. So you're gonna be backing to base a lot more often. So you lose map pressure there. You lose map pressure that you're not clearing waves, and then when you inevitably die at some point, you're gonna be reset. So there's a very real chance you did all that progress for nothing. Plus,
Yep.
Convection, as opposed to Mana Addict, we'll get into that in just a minute, you have so much more mana tension, and you're not able to use Kael'thas' full arsenal of abilities, because you're doing the majority onto your Q, which is a fine ability, but wouldn't it be nice to have all of your Qs and all of your other abilities? And Kael'thas, in my opinion, although he works great as a poke mage, he needs levels to get there. And until then, he works very effectively as a battle mage, where he wants to be kind of in the thick of things, being there to cast living bombs, being there to have very advantageous angles of tornadoes. Because if he lands those and good spreads, that's his primary win condition in the team fight. It's not through his Qs.
Exactly. The only times that I'm tempted to take Convection, the only times I would ever even consider it, is if the enemy team has like 3 melee heroes, they're not very mobile, and there are 2 people on my team that can cover the lanes.
Yep.
So this is very specific.
hmm And oftentimes that kind of that kind of any team composition is not going to come up very often. So it's
No,
not
no,
a
no.
it's not a very competitive team either. So this just works against Convection. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough for it. But in Aram, yeah, it's a great Aram town because you're not going to be in range to cast your abilities because you're in the face of the enemy team. It's very dangerous. So sticking back, pressing Q, doing poke damage is perfectly viable. That's probably what you're going to be doing, all things considered. So
Yeah, what
making
else are you
that
gonna
better,
do?
yeah. What else are you going to do? Making that better is a pretty good plan. Plus, you're less likely to die in Aram because you're in the midst of your team. There's no way to be flanked. So yeah, Convection is a lot better in that map. I got no more to say about Convection. If you get it going, it's great. But honestly, I'm not even sure if it's that great because you cast a far fewer abilities and it makes you go back to base, which costs you a lot of tempo throughout the game, which in my opinion will lower your win rate. I think Convection is not a good talent.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it is a trap. But hey, if you're drunk, why not? It's a fun talent.
Yeah, if we're just here for fun, if we're if
Yeah.
we're just enjoying ourselves.
Who are if you're just here to learn more about Kael'thas and you're not exactly there to try hard, you just want to like learn tidbits here and there. Sure, like if you're queuing a game with the boys and you're all in the lower leagues, who cares? Like you can pick anything. If you're good enough, you can make it work.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's Convection. Don't got that taste out of my mouth. I'm not sure if the spell infusion is going to be any better for me. Increases Kael'thas' spell power by 4%. Onto everything. So onto your Pyroblast, onto your Phoenix, to your Q and W, and it also heals you 94 health whenever you activate your trait. This is a super meager talent. I am not a fan of Fel Infusion, but I do understand its appeal in that Convection, although it increases your damage, it's only on one ability, plus you need to stack quests, plus there's a risk factor of you dying that loses all the progress. Fountain Fusion just gives you the damage, no questions asked. So if you unload your full combo, this is technically the most damaging talent of level 1, and it improves you in that capacity.
Yes. Yeah, it's if you're doing nothing but min-maxing your damage, you pick Fel Infusion.
hmm
Technically, it's part of the more effective higher level build, but again, I'm not picking Kael'thas to min-max. Picking Kael'thas to be as generically useful as possible. And
hmm
while the extra heal is not fantastic, it does help you if you're forced into like a solo lane scenario where you're just
hmm
dueling someone in a lane for forever.
Yeah.
Um, and the 4% spell damage isn't great, but it's still 4% spell damage, so it can still add up over time.
Big time. Venom Fusion is nice in matches where there's all ranged assassins, no healers. Gives you a way to self-sustain, so you don't have to back on the map because of health issues. You could just grab regeneration globes. That'll be enough to top you off. And the spell power increase is very important when you're getting bursted left, right, and center. Because if you die as soon as possible, well, who cares about the stamina of having extra mana or the bonus Q damage you might have on your Q that might miss? Having just extra damage throughout every ability you have, including the Pyroblast, so that you make it even more lethal, is definitely something you should consider.
Bigger booms.
Bigger booms. But it is a pretty understated talent. A lot of level 1 is actually, I don't know if anybody shares the opinion that level 1 is a weak talent. I don't, because every hero has a strong level 1 that defines the rest of their talents and abilities. They're really good. Even though you pick them up right away at the game, oftentimes they're quests, which transform to really strong effects. But even the non-quest forms, they're very good. And Found Fusion just doesn't fit the bill. In my opinion, it's a very weak level 1.
It's very situational. I only would take it if I'm doing a very, very specific build, and usually based around Living Bomb to just maximize the guaranteed damage that the spell power would give.
That's fair. Yeah. I approve. Aside from that, I rarely pick Felon Fusion. There are some Kael'thas mains that in quick match that do it, and they pick Felon Fusion. I can see the appeal, but you imagine a sound wave. You're on your little disco. Well, I'm no musician, so I don't know the terms, but say you've got a soundboard and you're min-maxing certain things. You're tuning up the music to certain frequencies. Felon Fusion tunes up all the damage you can at the cost of the rest of everything else. Convection, even though it's almost like a hammer for one type of nail, and that's it. Felon Fusion does tune it up, whereas it makes the rest of your stuff a little bit better. So if there's a very specific live and die type of playstyle, Felon Fusion's that.
Exactly.
No more comments. It's a pretty basic talent. I'll be moving on to Mana Addict if you are ready to go.
Oh, Mana Addict. I love this talent. It solves so many problems. So many problems. Not only does it solve your mana problems over time, but it also solves your mana regeneration over time, as since you're increasing your total mana pool every time you pick up a globe, you're also regenerating more mana. So it just compounds to the point where you basically never have to back for mana. Rare are the games where I run out of mana and when I've taken Mana Addict. Additionally, it incentivizes you running off to delete a wave every now and then because you need those precious globes, which increases your map pressure, which helps you push later on in the game. And you want to take camps, you can do a little quick drive-by of a camp to grab a globe. The shield is nothing to sneeze at once you're finally stacked, and can let you duel against those pesky high damage squishy heroes, catch them by surprise when suddenly you have another health bar and they're just like, wait, I already blew my whole cooldown, but you have more health and oh no, and then they just explode from Living Bomb. It is so great. Love this talent.
It's kind of outrageous how strong Mana Addict is. Just to do a quick introduction to it, pick up regen globes, increase max mana by 15 permanently, and there is an infinite cap to this. And if you capture 20 globes, you can activate a brand new ability which gives you a shield equal to 100% of your maximum mana. So this solves everything that Kael'thas lacks. He is mana hungry. You pick up these other two talents, you're going to be struggling for mana all game long like a thirsty dog. With Mana Addict, you literally have no problems with mana. Like, it disappears off the face of the earth, which is quite impressive. Like, that is a great problem to solve for just one talent point. And furthermore, it gives you a barrier later in the game by... It makes Kael'thas surprisingly difficult to kill. Like, if you try to dive him and pick him off, he doesn't die easy. He needs a little more effort from maybe 2 enemy heroes to take down. And that's a very good power-up later in the game as well. So, on both fronts, great talent. It's easy to work with. It also improves your playstyle, like Fox says. It incentivizes you to go clear waves every so often, which increases your map pressure. Watch your back. Just be careful with your rotations. If you go by yourself, there's a high chance you get ganked. Just be mindful of the fog of war. And so long as you're doing
Yes,
it
be
safely,
safe.
yeah, as long as you're doing it safely, you're going to get your globes, and all's well. But this also gives Kael'thas a objective in the early game to do. Don't fight the enemy teams as much, but rotate between lanes as frequently as possible to gather as much mana as you can, so that when you do enter the fights that actually matter, which is the objectives or the mid game fights or the late game fights, at that point you're gonna already have 800 maximum mana or more, and at that point it's much easier to win those important high stakes fights because you've done the legwork of putting in the reps, and now you're stronger for when it actually needs your strength.
Exactly. And also going around and clearing waves early frees up a lot of time for you and your team. Because you don't Kael'thas doesn't have great push. You don't want
Mm-hmm.
to clear a wave and then follow yours into the wall. That puts you out of position, and you don't have that
Mm-hmm.
shield to protect you, and you don't know where the enemy team is. So if you
Mm-hmm.
just delete the wave and then, I don't know, rotate back to your team, maybe you can help them get a pick, or you can rotate across the map and help clear that wave, and the other team may not be soaking and may not be defending their walls from the minions.
Mm-hmm.
You don't notice it when it's happening, but 5 minutes into the game and the enemy team's walls are down, you definitely feel the effects of Mana Addict.
Yes, and a very good point there. Mages kind of struggle early game when it comes to pushing walls. Maybe in the case of Kael'thas and Jaina, for example, these heroes they have to cast long cooldown abilities to do meager amounts of damage to the wall. Like it's okay, but it's not a lot. But you spend a lot of mana and you spend a lot of cooldowns, and you're also very vulnerable to being ganked. So
Yeah.
if you get responded on, it is the worst case scenario. Like you're the easiest target to kill in the game. So you clear the wave, but it's not recommended that you push. Unless the rest of your team is with you, in which case, if there's nothing better to do, it's totally a viable thing to do, especially with the mercenary camp behind you.
Yeah. Just clear the wave and let it crash into the wall. They waste all the experience. There's some free damage on the wall. No
Mm-hmm.
brainer.
Yeah. Mana Addict also has the side thing of incentivizing Kael'thas to go with his team and then rotate as a four-man squad. This is, in my opinion, probably Kael'thas' best, most comfortable kind of position. Although he does like to flex a lane every so often, he's definitely most comfortable when he rotates with his whole team on certain maps. So you've got your tank, you've got your other damage dealer, so it's not just Kael'thas putting in the damage, and then you got the healer to keep you safe. Now you form a death squad, and your tornado stunning will follow up the tank, which will follow up the healer CC, and then you got a second damage dealer that's going to be very happy to lay in whatever they have for the stun you provide. Plus, you bring in the burst damage; they'll have enough to execute your target. And by keeping you safe, it makes it very easy to find a wave to grab a regeneration globe. Maybe you force both globes. If you manipulate the wave a little bit, allow your own wizard minion to die, and then clear the wave so that you gain twice the amount of globes. Pro tip.
Oh no, all my secrets are being revealed.
Mm-hmm. I gotta thank Catbull for, instilling some discipline in me because I keep clearing the wave, like as soon as I approach it, and it's like, no, don't do that. Just let the minion die. Trust. Be patient. It's like, okay, yes.
He does like his globes. He does like his globes.
Yes. And honestly, it's a very good habit to build. So thank you, Catbull, if you're listening in on this. Well, that's Mana Addict. Anything more to say about it?
Nah, pretty much covers it.
Fair enough. Would you like to recap why you should pick each talent on this tier for which match?
Sure, convection. Don't. Felon fusion. If you can get away with it and you're not at risk of being doved on, you don't need the shield, which is very rare, then Felon fusion can help you min-max your damage. And Addict is what you should default to if you can't find out or can't luck your way into the scenarios where you would pick convection or Felon fusion.
Absolutely. Mana Addict. Oh, well, I probably forgot to mention this. This is very important. More mana means more abilities, which means with Convection, you can only cast Qs only so many times before you're dry. You can cast more Qs with with Mana Addict at the ready, so it increases your presence in the team fight dramatically. so that you're not bottlenecked for mana. You just cast abilities on cooldown. And it's very important because later on in the game, you're going to have a lot of cooldown reduction. If you don't have the mana to sustain it, you're going to feel it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think actually a good way to think about your queue is that with Kael'thas without Mana Addict, you only get like 7 to 12 of them, depending on what stage of the game you are, depending on how big your mana pool is.
Yeah.
I think it's 7. I think because it starts with
Exactly
500
7
and it's
at 1.
70
Yeah.
mana. Yeah. It's 7. You only get 7 queues, if that's an easier way to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then with Mana Addicts, it's probably infinite. Until
It's
you
very
die.
hard to run out of mana. It's
Yeah.
very hard. You got to try.
Yeah. You'll die sooner than you run out of mana, and then you're going to respawn with full mana, so you never feel it. Moving on to level 4. We got some actually pretty interesting options here. This is more of a flex talents tier for Kael'thas. You're not really shoehorned into Mana Addicts as much as you were on level 1. Netherwind is the first of these options, and I like it a lot. Increases your tornado's range by 30%, and when you hit an enemy hero, you also refund 80 mana from the 90 mana cost ability. What do you think about Netherwind?
I love Netherwind. I can't really talk about Netherwind without talking about Energy Royal as well, but I'll try. The extra range lets you hit the enemy backline if you're, standing in the front doing your battle mage thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to interrupt someone who stands way back in safety, maybe like an Ana, maybe like an Anduin who's ulting. He needs to be interrupted. You empower your tornado, and then you Netherwind them, and then they're stunned for 1.5 seconds
Mm-hmm.
way in the back, but all of their stuff has been interrupted, and so your team is in a better position.
Absolutely. This is I picked Netherwind for exactly those kinds of compositions where there's an enemy team backline that I need to interact with. Netherwind is your key in accessing them at range. Plus, it works super well when you empower it because when you're making the tornado fly, sometimes it runs just short. Increasing its range means, hey, when you rip through the front line, it might hit the back line pretty easily as well.
Yeah, it can also help you if, let's say, your tank is slightly far ahead and you're not quite in position for the default range tornado. You can pick Netherwind and then stun them from just a little bit farther away. It's not ideal, but it's just an extra thing that it can help you with.
Yes, amazing points, actually. That's actually a very important factor. Sometimes, depending on where Kael'thas is, he could be anywhere in the fights. When the tank chooses to a target to engage upon, you need to be able to follow up. If you can't follow up, it's a lot weaker. But if you are always able to follow up, your team is going to be very flexible in their own positioning. Kael'thas can be far out doing his own thing, but the rest of the team is around the tank. You can still contribute to the fights in a very impactful manner. Say the Garrosh does a mini combo into the Genji. If he doesn't get stunned right away, he's going to escape. But Netherwind always make sure you're in range to toss out the tornado, and if the tornado connects, that's a kill. And it would not have been possible without Netherwind to begin with.
Yes.
It's also
I
pretty
would
good
say
in...
that.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. I will continue my point. It's also very good in chasing scenarios. You'll find that Tornado, it being a slow-moving ability, it actually kind of struggles when you're on the chase after a guy. But Netherwood allows you to actually catch those heroes, and it scores hits, man. I can't tell you the amount of kills I score on a fleeing target with Netherwind that I definitely would not have scored without it.
That's literally exactly what I was going to say. It's
Damn.
far more the aggressive pick. Like you take Netherwind to go on the offensive, and you take Energy Royal to go on the defensive.
Exactly. And we might as well talk about Energy Royal now. Now, compared to Netherwind, where the latter half is, hey, if you hit the target, you get the mana. With Energy Royal, you reduce the mana cost altogether. So reduce the mana cost of your tornado, non-conditional. It's not as much, but who cares about 10 mana? There will be a time you miss your E, and all of a sudden you're not getting the mana back from Netherwind. You'll already be making back more mana with Energy Royal. Like, trust, this is going to save you more mana throughout the game. And, more
Oh
importantly,
yeah.
if your tornado hits an enemy hero, you will reduce its cooldown by 8 seconds. 8 seconds? That's 2/3 gone. You have a 4-second cooldown
Crazy.
ability. Yeah, and it's done for 1 second.
4 second cooldown's done. A 4 second cooldown's done. 1 second raw and 1.5 second empowered. So really, if you're nailing your Energy Royals, the enemy only has what, like 2.5 seconds when they can do something? It's not a lot of time to react.
Exactly. That uptime is actually kind of vile, and you can do a insane CC combo. Like if there's any amounts of slowing on your team that's like very ubiquitous, like let's say you got an Arthas or a Jaina. I'm not sure how good Jaina is with a Kael'thas, but say you got any frequent amounts of slowing or reliable CC, maybe your bruiser accompanies more like a Rexar. Being able to capitalize on a tiny amount of CC and just keep somebody stun locked like over and over and over again with
And
Energy Royal
over and
is
over.
really oppressive. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
if you don't think that you can nail your Netherwinds, Energy Royal is not a bad option.
absolutely. It's much less punching in the mana departments, and this allows you to cast more abilities in its stead. Uh, it's literally two sides of the same coin, and I love it because it gives you two very clear paths on how you want to take your wind. More often than not, though, I do lean a little bit more towards Energy Royal, mostly because Kael'thas sometimes needs defensive utility, and the longer you live, the more abilities you cast, the more impact you're having on the match. You need to make sure your defenses are shored up. Maybe there's a close range bruiser, maybe there's an assassin. Having Energy Royal ready to go is pretty impactful because if you score the stun, you might have a second one which will always guarantee your safety.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always and later you get even more cooldown reduction, so you have even more Energy Royals.
Yeah,
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Plus, if
absolutely.
you're standing pretty close to the fight already and you can't really mess with the backline, stunning the enemy front line over and over and over again is very annoying.
Yes. And honestly, that's also a pretty good win con. These days, Mal'Ganis is running around pretty frequently. Having a low cooldown stun is actually pretty impactful. Plus, it's great into heroes like Arthas as well, where if the tank is vulnerable to being crowd controlled, having more stuns is like it is actually a really strong suit of Kael'thas. This is his unique strengths and one of the big reasons you want to pick him.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. In terms of combat prowess, Energy Royal really cannot be matched. The mana, the cooldown reduction you get in a mid-range composition is very strong. There will be plenty of cases though that Netherwind does become very important. On a more aggressive Kael'thas, where he wants to score kills on hard-to-reach targets, you need the Netherwind in order to impact them. And when you impact them with a stun, that means your Q can come after. And if your Q comes, that means you can Pyroblast after. And maybe that scores you a kill on the long-range Hanzo because of Netherwind.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fun talent here to pick between these two talents and not the other one.
Absolutely. All things considered, you're kind of hard pressed to find no value from either or. There's just going to be. It's recommended you pick the talents in those cases because they're going to give you a lot more value. And if it's a long range game and you get no value from Energy Royal, it feels kind of bad. So it's definitely a case for Netherwind. But if it's not a case for Netherwind and it's like mid range, close range, Energy Royal is a vastly superior pick.
Fantastically so.
Yeah. Not they're both great, so pick them up in the appropriate games. But now let's talk about mana tap.
Mana tap is what you take when you go convection and you convinced yourself that this is going to solve your mana problems.
Yeah, this is unlike Energy Royal Netherwind, where you need to spend mana to gain mana. Mana tap restores mana. So if you are on cruise control and you're spamming your DW all game long, this is how you restore your mana. It is mana restoration. It's not very much, and it's totally overkill with mana addicts. It's not necessary, but if you picked up Fellow Infusion, if
Yeah.
you picked up Convection, you're going to feel the mana hurts. At that point, if you feel like your tornadoes are for some reason not impactful, which they always are, mana tap is a way to get it back, you know?
Yeah, but it also, like, to get a net positive on mana tap, you have to be throwing out free living bombs. You can't mana
Yeah,
tap and then use your E. You can't mana tap and then use your Q. You're still losing mana.
yeah.
Maybe sometimes when you're dry, it'll help you get another Q off. It'll help you get another E off. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to, like, regain mana with mana tap, you have to have a target around that you can set on fire. It's really
Absolutely.
clunky. It's not really worth the 5% of your mana. You'll get more mana back if you hit one of your E's with the other two talents.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Totally.
it's really hard to pick mana tap when Energy Royal is right there.
Yes. It's you feel like the world's biggest idiot when you have mana tap. You press your D, and then you got nothing to do with it. And it's like great.
You just sit there like, yeah, I got 5% mana back. Woo! All right.
So yeah, mana tap also. Well, it's pretty easy to work around. I'm not saying this is a disadvantage that you gotta watch out for, and that's you got your traits. You need to use it as frequently as you can, but now it messes up the ordering, in which sometimes you might want a different ability empowered at. Your Veteran Spheres is a little bit of a combo breaker in that you gotta use it on the right ability at the right time, but more often than not, it's usually the first ability in a combo rotation that you identify the fight to be, which is almost always Gravity Lapse, if you ask me, but I digress. Mana Tap is okay. It's not bad, but the fact that both of these Tornado Talents restores mana completely defeats the purpose of Mana Tap. So
Completely.
you make your strongest ability more powerful in many ways, and you also gain a lot of mana back. So yeah.
It's the worst of all three of your options.
Yeah. If this were combined with Fel Infusion, I think it'd be a good talent. Actually, a very viable level 1 talent if it had both effects, but it's not the case. It's divided into two, so you spend 2 whole talent tiers doing what? Nothing. It's like you got no level
Nothing,
1, no
exactly.
level 4, so not recommended.
You're already not the greatest mage in the game. Don't make yourself any worse.
Yep, exactly. Well, I got nothing more to say on level 4. If you'd like, level 7.
Another. I love this talent tier. It's a lot of options here. Kind of like the two tornado talents level 4. You pick a different level 7 depending on what you're facing.
Exactly. It's actually a very, very good flex tier for Kael'thas, and his first taste of real damage. So, starting off with Burn Flesh. When Flame Strike damages 2 or more heroes, they take an additional 8% of their maximum health as damage to all heroes applied. This is,
Huge.
yeah, this is pretty big. 8% is a nasty number. On multiple targets is a big deal, and this is a level 7 talent. Getting percentage HP damage this early in the game is quite rare. Not a lot of heroes do this. So this gives Kael'thas a very unique effect. Granted, the condition is kind of tough. Like 2 or more heroes is very challenging. If your Q is tiny, hitting multiple heroes is pretty hard unless they get chain stunned by your E or by a
Mm-hmm.
god tier ETC slide or something like that. Usually you need to empower your Q in order to score Burn Flesh, which does knock against it a little bit. But hey, it happens more often than you think, and the damage boost is pretty substantial. What do you think about Burn
It's
Flesh?
really great. It's really great follow-up. This is a fantastic follow-up talent. If you can get multi-stuns, whether it's you with your tornado or it's like you said, your tank, if you can get 2 people to hold still, this just melts them. If you want to play convection, hey listeners, hey, if you want to play convection, don't just take this talent. You'll get the same amount of dopamine from it. I promise. Those crit
Yes.
kickers are massive. It's but like you said, it's good follow up. Maybe if the enemies have clones like a Nova or like a Samuro, you can get some cheeky burn flashes off there to surprise some
Yeah.
people.
Great tip.
It's definitely more specialized than the other 2 talents on this tier, but when it hits hard.
Yeah. You're actually right about that dopamine. Uncommon opinion from me. I actually don't really like quest talents. I played Vagar and Nasus in League of Legends for like, I don't know, give or take 4 years on and off. I've done enough stacking in my life, brother. Give me something that hits hard if the situation is right.
Yeah, let's just play the game. Why are we doing all these mini
Let's play
mini
the
games?
game.
Let's just play the game.
Yeah. Besides, we're not here to farm up. We're here to play the game. So Heroes of the Storm, it really is not the quest type game. But, I can understand. It feels nice doing a quest every so often, but doing it on every hero is a little bit tiresome. Burn Flesh,
Yeah,
yeah, you hit that oh, baby. Just
big
reel
damage,
back.
big numbers.
Big numbers.
Purple crit kickers. Looks
Yeah.
great.
This talent, I think, is definitely an anti-frontline ability because, one, they've got more health to chew through, and 2, more often than not, melee compositions, they're going to be in close range with your hero, so they're going to be brawling point blank, and because of the surface area, they all have to go around the targets like a bunch of hungry dogs eating a bowl of food, rather than if they have long range, they could be anywhere in the room. But if they're close range, they need to be on the same pixel to deal the damage. And that's when Burn Flesh gets its most value from. If there's lots of frontline, This is a very good way to answer it because you're hitting them to deal the damage, and they're also taking bonus damage from the percentage HP.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, give one thought to your tank and the type of CC they provide. If you have Joanna, ETC, who is it, Mei, these heroes are more AoE focused CC rather than the single target CC lockdown of maybe Tyrael or Varian or Garrosh. Those heroes are much more comfortable isolating one target, in which case it's difficult to take advantage of Burn Flesh. But if you have a Joanna, she always pulls everything to her. Empower the Q, you get Burn Flesh value easy because of the type of tank you have.
Oh yeah.
So
PP
yeah,
loves himself some JoJo.
that's right. JoJo is everybody's favorite. I'm afraid everybody just loves her. So yeah, Burn Flesh, not bad. It's a great talent. Just to identify if the enemy comp demands it, and if you have the setup to make it so, and yeah, make it work. Next up, Sun King's Fury. Living bombs that spread to enemy heroes deal 35% more damage. Remember how I said if the living bomb spreads, it's actually dealing 66% more damage than if it were hitting its primary target? Well, this now makes it deal double damage. So if it spreads, it's twice as much damage compared to the first target. The number is crazy. Like Sun King's Fury
It's a
is
lot.
really strong when it activates. What do you think about it?
I actually picked this one based on what healer I'm facing. I love to take Sun King's Fury into healers that want their team to group up. Alexstrasza, Oriel, Brightwing, love setting fire to fairies, love setting fire to Brightwings. Lucio, Stukov, everyone clumping together for a heal, only for them to all explode into fire. And you see these big crit kickers going off, and everyone's running in every single other direction, and their health bars just disappear. There's nothing quite like it. It feels really good.
Yeah.
So that's the specific reason why I would pick Sun King's Fury. The other reason I would pick it was if I wasn't going Pyroblast, but we'll get into that later.
That's fair. That's actually a great tip. I like the way you think about it. Targeting the choice of healer, which will force the enemy team to clump up, so that Sun King Sphere can derive more value. I do agree with you. I think Bright Wings are great targets to W on because suddenly they can't Z or they can't R. Otherwise they also can't really stand near because of the way their trait works. It's very tough for a Bright Wing to deal with the Kael'thas Living Bomb. So yeah, I didn't extend that line of reasoning to the rest of the healer cast. So amazing tip there.
They think they're so safe with that spell armor, but let me tell you, I have barbecued many a fairy in my time.
There you have it. But yeah, you know who my favorite hero in the game is to pair with Kael'thas?
Joanna?
Nope. Guess again.
Oh.
It is a tank.
Nah, it's a tank. It's a tank. Okay, hang on. Mei?
Close, but not quite.
Hold on, wait.
I did mention him.
Garrosh.
That's right. You wanna know why?
Yeah. Because he can throw grenades.
Exactly, you throw the grenades. and I call this combo the Bomb Factory because it's Kael'thas kind of, I don't know, Garrosh kind of struggles when he has to like frontline and then do a neutral state where it's too dangerous to, or well, not really worthwhile to toss the tank back into your team, so there's no point in doing it, and then Garrosh is forced to stay on the front line. He hates those scenarios. But with Kael'thas, if you have the Living Bomb, he walks behind you, he puts the W onto whoever it is you're fighting in front of you. Now you have the option of either isolating them into your backline, you got the Tornado that comes after, deadly combo, or you toss them back into the enemy team. And at any point... it's very easy to find something that's burning as Garrosh. There's plenty of targets to choose from, and then you just go to them and then toss them onto the rest of the team. It's so easy scoring 4-man bombs, and it is outrageously powerful. Like, because there's no fear for the enemy team. The living bomb target is very far away, and the Kael'thas is on the other side of the map. They're in no threat. There's no reason for them to not clump up, right? And then Garrosh does the unexpected. He chooses to toss the tank that has the bomb onto them, and you do so much catastrophic amounts of damage. It probably wins you the fight on the spot.
At the very least, everyone needs to back off and lick their wounds.
Exactly. And honestly, at that point, the stress to the healer might be too much. At that point, it's pretty easy for your team to follow up, and then minimum 1 kill. It is, in my opinion, way more effective than just doing a backwards flip as Garrosh. When I have the Kael'thas that I'm comfortable with, and they know what I'm up to, and they drop the bombs, it is, whoa, mon ami, it's great.
Boom.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I love Garrosh with Kael'thas. It's because of Sun King's Fury. You can nuke a team, and you do it like, if you like the Diva Bomb combo as Garrosh, do this. Like, you get to do it 5 times as often, and it's almost the same effect. Well, not exactly the same effect. The explosion is certainly a sight to behold, but for 5 times more often at maybe 2/3 the power, yeah, it feels great.
I hope to see it in my games.
Maybe I can assist you with this then a little bit after this.
Well, you still got like 11 Stukov games to run through first.
That's right. Oh man. Well, I got a lot of work ahead of me. Anyways, that's a Sun King's Fury. If you can manipulate the enemy team's positioning, in which case, like maybe the Haka drag, Garrosh toss, sometimes it may shove or a ETC boop, being able to shove it into an enemy, and then it's very effective. And then also, with the excellent tip from Fox, keep an eye on the enemy healer and the type of healing. If it's AoE healing, this is going to get a lot of value if you tag it onto the healer.
Yes.
Yeah. Nothing more to say about Sun King's Fury. Moving on to Sunfire Enchantment. Activating your trait causes your next 2 right clicks to deal double damage in spell damage form. And if both of these attacks hit enemy heroes, you will gain 15% spell power for 10 seconds. This is my personal favorite, actually. Although I like Sun King's Fury a lot, I think Sunfire Enchantment is just, it feels right to me. So,
Yes.
what do you think about it?
I would agree entirely. It's also become my favorite. When I was a wee little fire mage and I was scared of getting close to auto attack things, I would always default to Sun King's Fury because that would be the situations where I stumbled into where I would get the most value from. Now, I pretty much always take Sunfire Enchantment unless I can find an excuse to take the other ones, because this talent turns you into actually not a terrible duelist, especially if you take the shield at level 1.
Yeah.
You get pretty decent single target damage. Not only that, while you're fighting them, you increase your spell damage by 15% for 10 seconds. That's like 2 rotations of your abilities. If they're on fire, you do your auto attacks, it explodes for bonus damage, you Q them for bonus damage, you get another living bomb for bonus damage. By that time, your trait should be back, so you can pop, hit them twice again with 2 more Sunfire Enchantment auto attacks. It's a surprising amount of single target damage. People don't expect you to kill them 1v1 with a Kael'thas.
Exactly.
Additionally, this combos fantastically with Pyroblast. Almost every single game where I've decided to take Pyroblast before level 10, I will take Sunfire Enchantment. Almost every single time.
Agreed.
It's 15% more bomb. It's like, why not?
And making big number go bigger is mathematically a lot better than making like a small number go really big because of the way it works. And not only that, your Pyroblast scales 5% per level. So in the end game, that 15% goes even further.
Yes, and you can also set it over the edge, like we said, min-maxing with the spell damage talent at level 1 for like 19 total spell power for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But 15's enough. 15's enough. It's good enough.
If you need convincing, like Sunfire Enchantment, the condition's very easy to pull off. Honestly, there really isn't a lot of a drawback to it. It is 4 levels worth of damage. Like, imagine both of you are level 11. You have Sunfire Enchantment ready. It's like you're level 15. That's how much damage you deal. And against targets with level 11 health, you can really feel the difference. It's astonishingly good.
It does take a little while to get there because it is 2 auto attacks, but you can very safely, very often just auto attack the hero that's in front of you, that's fighting your tank or whatever. Like, it's not as hard to pull off as you might expect.
Yeah. You might make the case of, oh, well, Kael'thas should be in the back line. He shouldn't be up there making right clicks. Well, this is very true. But there will be plenty of times where there's going to be an opportunity that you are in range of something. It doesn't have to be a high priority threat. The safer you are, the less valuable your position is in terms of threatening the enemy's high priority targets. That's fine. If you find a tank to wail 2 quick attacks on, and they don't have to be in short order, you can actually activate your trait. Your next 2 attacks at any point in the game are going to be empowered. And hell, you can even refresh the attacks on the next time you do your trait. It's completely separate from activating it with your abilities versus activating it just cause. Because
Exactly.
you might have casted it 30 seconds ago. Your next 2 clicks are still empowered, and it's and even if you did 1 click on an enemy hero 20 seconds ago, and you did your 2nd click now, you still get the 15% spell power. And it lasts 10
You don't have to
seconds.
be in sequence. You can just hold on to it. 10 seconds is a pretty decent duration for spell power. It's just good. It's good.
It's just good, yeah. That's the great part about it. It's the way it's coded is very advantageous for you. It doesn't have to be in like short order. It's not like, hey, your next 2 attacks in the next 5 seconds are empowered. No, it's at any points, and it can be way disconnected. And lastly, it lasts 10 seconds. 10 seconds is an eternity. It's very easy to reapply this later on at a safer point, so just find it in opening. It's pretty easy to do so. If you're in range to press your W, you're in range to right click, so you keep that in mind. And yeah, you've got Sunfire Enchantment for the rest of the fight.
Exactly. It also, and I did kind of allude to this, it also makes you harder to dive because you're doing a lot more damage than people expect.
Yeah. All of a sudden, like,
So if you're
Kael'thas was
sitting-
kind of middling, but then he lands a tornado on you, and you actually get messed up bad with the bonus damage for your right clicks.
Boom.
Yeah, it's guaranteed damage. I like this a lot when fighting fast targets because your right clicks don't miss, and doubling their damage through your trait activations with your W, like free living bombs, makes you a very good point and click right clicker, actually.
It helps cover your healer when you guys get dove in the back line.
Exactly, yeah. It's just good, all things considered. I have a specific combo on how I activate Sunfire Enchantment. What I do is, if I'm dueling somebody 1v1, in which case I probably need as much damage as I can, which means having twice the living bombs is pretty important. What I do is I trait, I W, I right click once, and then as soon as my right click is over, I throw out my tornado, and then as the tornado is flying, I throw out my second right click, and right as the tornado lands, I press Q. And then I start channeling Pyroblast. In this order, both of your right clicks will go off. Great, you've got your bonus damage. And the spell amp will apply right before your Q activates and right before your first bomb should explode. And you're channeling Pyroblast, so that you've made enough time for all of your abilities in sequence. And if that somehow wasn't enough, hey, you activated your W, which means you're going to have a second W ready to go as soon as the first one expires.
Exactly. Kael'thas can 100% combo quite a few people that way.
Yeah. Or if it's a little hard, maybe you want to bait their abilities first, it's perfectly fine. Just Sunfire Enchantment, then W, and then just right-click them, and then wait to do your EQ. The 10-second buffer time you have afterwards, you can just let the combo go whenever you want. You don't have to do it right away.
I personally enjoy being off in a lane against a Nova, and they come up and try to kill you, and then you remind them that they're not actually a real hero.
Uh-huh, that's right. Nova's not a real hero, and neither is Kael'thas, but you're more of a real hero.
I have a stun! I have a stun!
Exactly. I'd have Kael'thas on my team like 10 times out of 10 compared to a Nova. Because of that one
I
stun.
have a stun.
That's right. So, oh, and actually, I glazed over a very important fact for a living bomb. Heroes that are suffering from a living bomb do not, cannot be spread upon by other living bombs. So if you can only have one on them at a time. This is a very important factor as Kael'thas. What do you do to mitigate this, Mr. Fox? Is there like a rhythm if you want somebody to be splashed upon with a living bomb, but they already have a living bomb? How does that work?
It's all timing. It's 3 seconds before it explodes, right? You just get that timing down, and then you set your next one to explode after the first one does, and then it should chain back onto your primary target again. You can use minions, you can use other heroes. Once you get to level 16, there's another talent that we can use to continue the fire burning. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ways, but it's really just timing. You just gotta get the timing down.
Got you. Okay, that's cool. Good to know. If you, yeah, if Kael'thas really thrives in area effect damage. If the enemy heroes are standing still next to each other for a prolapsed duration, it is kind of outrageous how much he does. Yeah, but I
You just
digress.
need to wait a beat. You just need to wait a beat after your first bomb. Like you set someone on fire, you go huh, and then you set
Mm-hmm.
your next target on fire, and then the first one will explode, and then the second one will explode right after, and hopefully they're close enough together at that time that the second bomb changes onto the first target.
Mm-hmm. That's
You
right.
can't really predict where people are going to go,
Yeah, that's the
but
3 second downtime.
you can
Mm-hmm.
practice your timing.
True. Very cool. Also, if you, for some reason, like anticipate the enemy about to die, put the bomb on them, and then don't put the bomb on the secondary target because they're about to be spread upon. If that situation ever comes.
Yep. First.
Yeah. As to recap, level 7, Burn Flesh is a great pick with Convection. You're already doing Q build, so making it wider with using your traits on your Q as often as possible with Convection makes Burn Flesh naturally better. Besides, you don't have enough mana for your other things, so empowering this is better. Or frontline heavy comps, or you have an AoE based tank that provides pulling, vacuuming, all those sorts. If you can clump enemies together, you'll be very happy picking up Burn Flesh. Sun King's Fury, if the Living Bomb value is going to get a lot of value because of the way the team is clumping. Like, if they're clumping 24/7, Sun King's Fury is going to give you that value. And much of it comes due to how the healer operates. And then Sunfire Enchantment for, honestly, just generic raw value. And sometimes there's a game you never get Burn Flesh value. Sometimes you never get a spread from Sun King's Fury. And these are both very conditional. Sunfire Enchantment is not. And it allows you to, although it's not as high of a maximum bonus damage compared to the rest, if you don't have obvious synergy, Sunfire Enchantment is just raw and good and very versatile. And plus, it works great with Pyroblast if you pick that up.
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. Without further ado, level 10. When would you pick Phoenix? When would you pick Pyroblast?
I would almost always pick Phoenix while looking for excuses to take Pyroblast.
Exactly. That I think the same way.
Yeah.
Because
If you can shut someone out of a fight with a Pyroblast, then you just get so much team fight value. But if they have too many defensives or they're just too chunky, then you might want to mess with their positioning more with Phoenix or try to play the map.
that's right. And honestly, I think Pyroblast is actually a pretty good ultimate. It's just that it's so strong, it forces the enemy team to react to it, and then suddenly it's not so good of an ability. And the knee-jerk reaction is stronger for Pyroblast than other abilities. But if the game,
you're trying to force trades with Pyroblast.
yeah, oftentimes it kind of comes down to that. It's worthwhile if you get heroic for heroic. If it's a more basic thing, or maybe they sacrifice a talent tier to do more defensive options, that could be a tiny win on like the grand scale of things. But it's very hard to evaluate that. It's quite challenging, but it's certainly something that happens in the background.
Yep. Yeah. You really gotta find out. You really gotta decide if Pyroblast is going to actually do anything.
Yes. If you do notice that it's going to do anything, like if the enemy team is ripe and vulnerable for Pyroblast, it is actually very strong, and this could be a legitimate win condition. Whereas Phoenix, yes, you always have it, and there's no such thing as a good game for Phoenix. Like, you look at it, and it's like, yeah, Phoenix was the way to go to win the game. Not really. It's just
It's
a
just more
performance
damage.
booster. It's just more
Yeah.
damage. Yeah, but hey, with Sunfire Enchantment, it actually does get a good amount of damage. Like, it goes up to 100 damage per second. It's not half bad. It becomes respectful.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. That's level 10. Pretty straightforward. Pyroblast, if there is literally no answer to it, it's a great option. If there is an answer, it's probably Phoenix.
Exactly.
Level 13. Pyromaniac. Would you like to describe what this one does, Mr. Fox?
Pyromaniac reduces Kael'thas's basic ability cooldowns by half a second every time it ticks. Does it tick every second or does it tick every half a second? Let me just check here.
Great question. I think it's every 1 second. There's one instance of burn because I don't feel a 3 second
It
shaving with just one W.
it ticks once a second, so you will get 3 instances of cooldown reduction over the course of a living bomb for a total of 1.5 second cooldown reduction.
Mm-hmm.
That
On everything. Well, just your
on
basic
everything.
abilities, but yeah.
Yes. That, I mean, Energy Royal reduces the cooldown of Gravity Lapse to 4
Mm-hmm.
seconds. You had another 1.5 second cooldown reduction on top of that. Oh, they don't really have that much time to react to your stuns, do they?
Exactly. When you pick up Pyromaniac, you kind of realize how OP the Energy Royal combo is. Like, you literally stun lock somebody over and over again. And if you so happen to have multiple living bombs on the field, it's a permanent stun.
Oh, that's also a good point. You can have 2 living bombs at once, 3 with the right level 16. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of cooldown reduction.
Yeah, everything that's burning is going to make the rest of your abilities come off cooldown faster, which means you get more living bombs again, which means you get another round. It just feedback loops hard.
Oh, geez, I hope you have enough mana to cast all those spells.
Great point. And this is what we were alluding to earlier with Meta Addict. This is Kael'thas' big cooldown reduction talents. If you don't have the mana to sustain this, you're going to run dry twice as quickly. So watch out for that. But if you have the mana, you can cast as many abilities as you want, and that is where Kael'thas' power really shines. It's when you pick up Pyromaniac. When you have this talent, your cooldowns, suddenly, it's no longer like, okay, burst damage at a lengthy cooldown. Now you have short cooldowns with high damage, and you have a stun that's always in effect, one way or another, which is why Kael'thas suddenly becomes a very oppressive team-fighting force.
Yes. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
fire everywhere makes more fire everywhere.
Exactly. It spreads out of control. Plus, Pyromaniac also gives you the value even if a non-heroic target is being burned. If you drop a living bomb onto a siege giant, it's still going to give you the value of reducing your cooldowns, which makes your macro game also better because you have more abilities to cast.
Hard to go wrong with this one.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's honestly probably the only option on 13 because this is realistically the only thing that increases your damage through cooldown reduction. It also increases your utility, obviously, because you've got more cooldowns. But yeah, no brainer. It's
It
great.
is pretty much the only talent on this tier. However, I would like to make the case for Backdraft.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Mr. Fox.
What Backdraft does is the explosion from Living Bomb will slow your target by 30% for 2 seconds. Nobody is expecting Kael'thas to slow them, and ranged slows start and end fights. And the fact that it's on a Living Bomb, which is just point and click, you just point and click on someone, 3 seconds later they're slowed for 2 seconds. They're like, what the hell's going on? And suddenly they're in range of your tank, and your tank just grabs them, and then you stun them, and then they're deleted.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good snare. It's a good surprise. I wouldn't say it is as much value as Pyromaniac, but it can catch people off guard. And if you're going just the spell damage heavy trait build,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to have enough mana to cast spells with Pyromaniac
True,
anyways.
true.
So the extra slow can find value there.
That's a really good case you've brought here. In the events that you don't have the mana to cast all of your abilities, and besides, Pyromaniac is going off the assumption that you live long enough to take advantage of the cooldown reduction. If you're doing 1v1s, or you're doing, or you might just die before then, having a slow on your living bomb as like your final martyr grenade is not bad. And honestly, the slow is actually more noticeable than you think. It feels annoying to deal with. I will say,
Yeah, I would really only take it if I was going like a trait build, and like I for sure wasn't taking
yeah,
Mana Addict because you need the mana for Pyromaniac.
big time. That's a big reason why you're probably going to pivot into Backdraft compared to the Pyromaniac. It also, although the explosion is frustrating, I wish this gave a flat slow. you have to wait 3 seconds before you're allowed to cast your Q or your E to take advantage of your own slow. This is a team for Kael'thas in perspective. This is a team only type of benefit, which is quite frustrating. It'd be really nice if you have a little bit of benefit for yourself. You can, but there's no universe in which you're going to be waiting 3 seconds for a meager slow to maybe help you land a stun or a Q. That's kind of ridiculous, but hey,
Exactly. It's for your friends. It's for your friends.
yeah, it's for your friends. If that situation arises, great, take advantage. Otherwise, since you don't take advantage of it yourself, it's not as good as it should be. But hey, it's not bad. Like if Pyromanic did not exist, I think Backdraft probably would be the better of the options here.
Of the last two options, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's go to Fission Bomb. Increases Living Bomb's explosion radius by 20%. I think it was what 3.3 explosion radii, and then it goes up to about 4.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it turns into a rag Q, it turns into a Cassia traits level 1 bouncy thing. If you can envision the radius of that, that is now Living Bomb. So increases the likelihood that it scores a hit on a edge hero, and all of a sudden, if your bomb spreads, it compounds on itself. It's great if it spreads. Kael'thas is all about the spreading,
Yep.
and reducing the odds of that increasing the odds of that happening is a good thing.
Yeah. The thing is, with Living Bomb, the entire game you're training the enemy team to spread out.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna get less and less spreads unless they're just absolute doorknobs. You're gonna get less and less spreads the longer a game goes on, because they'll just know they'll wait the bomb out, they'll spread out. One guy will back off into safety, let the bomb explode away from his team, and so Fission Bomb maybe can surprise people who have been trained to avoid spreading the fire because they're not expecting it to be just a tiny little bit bigger. But then they learn that they have to take an extra step, and Fission Bomb's value drops off a cliff.
Yeah. If it doesn't spread, it does nothing.
Exactly. You're always going to get the cooldown reduction with Pyromaniac. You're always going to get the slow with Backdraft. You're not always going to get the spread with Fission Bomb.
Yes, and because of that, I don't like Fission Bomb.
Yeah, don't really have much else to say about it. Your other options are way too better. Don't pick this. Don't do it. And don't let me see you pick it either.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit more acceptable in some cases, but I do agree if you're being competitive with Kael'thas, Fission Bomb nukes you pretty hard. Pyromanic is pretty standard. This is how you do more as Kael'thas, and they actually become a good threat throughout the game.
Yeah.
Without further ado, level 16 perhaps?
The best talent tier for Kael'thas. The
Yes, sir.
greatest one. If you haven't won the fight yet, you're gonna now.
Yes, sir. We got Fury of the Sunwell. First guy coming up. Flame Strike will explode a second time, 1.5 seconds later. Yeah, you press Q, boom, and then it explodes again, same location. If you empower your Q, the second repeat is also going to be increased in size. So that's a very important factor to keep in mind. What do you think of Fury of the Sunwell?
I like it if the same conditions are satisfied for convection. Because while you get 2 spells for the price of 1, the 1.5 second delay is more than enough time for people to get out of the way. They will see the double Sunwell, the double Flame Strike go off once, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I can't be in the same place for a Q because it's going to hit me a second time. But if you can lock down an immobile team in one spot where they can't move for like 2.5 seconds, getting 2 Qs off, especially with burned flesh, is insane damage. It is crazy. Yes. And you can still get value from Fury of the Sunwell if you don't hit things, if you use it as a zoning tool. Like I said, they'll see the second Flame Strike go off and they'll be like, oh, I can't stand there. And so you'll cast it on, like, I don't know, a choke point or something. They'll dodge the first one, like they'll back up out of the first Flame Strike, and then they'll start moving forward again, realize, oh, wow, there's another one coming, and then back up again, and that buys you just a little bit of time.
It happens to me more often than not.
Yeah, there's always the second guessing. They're like, oh, there goes the Flame Strike, and oh, there's the second one. Oh, shit.
I will say, This is a great talent, looking at it. The one downside is it's very, very difficult to land it on enemy heroes. Like, you're trying to get a anti-hero type talents here that's going to deal you more damage. Fear of the Sunwell is close to being good, but not quite. Doesn't quite land it. But I will say, Fear of the Sunwell is amazing at everything else. Minion waves, great. Mercenary camps,
Oh yeah.
obscenely strong. Structures,
Oh yeah.
great, especially at range, at poking as well. Fear of the Sunwell gives you an insane amount of bonus damage onto everything else, and if you've been stacking the convection, it's actually kind of astonishing how strong it is. But you really need to. It takes up. Fear of the Sunwell requires everything working for it. You need all the Q talents. You need all the trait activations. You need an AoE tank that somehow locks them down for an extended period of time, which is probably only ETC's Mosh or maybe Joanna Blessed Shield on top. But if those conditions are right, it can do a lot. But I question whether or not the payoff all this time was worth it, because he probably could have achieved the same result. Kael'thas being the kind of guy he is, he destroys clumped up teams.
It is. I'd say it's far more situational than the other picks here, but it's still very strong.
I agree. I'm right there with you. Yep, 2 abilities for the price of 1 is most certainly a great bargain.
Especially if they're different abilities.
Yeah. Ignites. Flame Strike applies Living Bomb to the enemy hero closest to its center, who is now already affected by Living Bomb.
Oh baby.
Oh baby. This is
Oh
great.
baby. Oh, this talent.
Take the
Oh
floor.
my god. I don't know why people don't just automatically default to this talent. Living Bomb is such sticky, guaranteed damage, even if you only hit one target. It is just reliable, consistent damage that can mess with people's positioning. And the biggest problem with Living Bomb is you gotta get kinda close to people to set them on fire. Not anymore. You could just Q someone, and then poof, they're bursting into flames, and now there's a living bomb inside the enemy team. What
Yep.
are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, guys? Huh? You're on fire now. What's happening?
Exactly. And it gets very sticky when there's 2 types of bombs. There's one on the back line, one on the front line, and they're nowhere is safe.
Nowhere is safe. Both of those are a primary cast of living bomb, so both of them can chain. So if you stagger it right, you can get like 4 chain bombs off. Something like that is crazy. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. You can have 3 primary casts of living bomb going off at once. If nothing else, that'll shake up where everyone is standing.
Yeah. Now I guess it's also a time to talk about like the timings and making sure your bombs do not stack. This is very important when it
Yeah.
comes to Ignite. Now, usually in your combo, you're going to include your W and your Q. You need to make sure if you land your tornado, do not do your W. You must restrain it and just press Q, because you're going to get the free living bomb, and this part will be wasted if they already got the bomb. Plus, have it in your back pocket just in case.
Exactly. And you can stagger the cast of the W just enough so that the first one goes off, and then you get the second one, and then they're still close enough together that you get the chain bomb onto the first target. It's like a whole thing. Learn the bomb, ladies and gentlemen. Learn the
Yes.
ways of the bomb. That's how you be a good Kael'thas.
Over time, so long as you have that in mind, trying not to stagger the bombs to spread onto one another, you're going to get better at doing it, and at some points it's going to feel pretty natural to you. So just hang in there. Kael'thas is a pretty straightforward hero, all things considered, so it's just something to master over time in the background as you're doing other things.
You can also kind of force the ignite onto a specific target by casting a living bomb onto someone that you don't actually want bombed. So, like,
True.
let's say Ana is out of position and Diablo is close. You don't want the bomb to go on Diablo, not really. So you just light him up, and then the living bomb goes on the Ana. She runs back into her backline, and then it's chaos.
Yeah, true. Ignite also incentivizes the Kael'thas to start pressing DQ more often in the late game, because now if you land the Q, even if it's at the very tippy edge, boom, that's a free living bomb. So the free living bomb you would have gotten from empowering your W, well, that's going into your Q, quote unquote,
Exactly.
Yeah. Ignite also works.
I
I'll let you continue. Hopefully I don't take your next point here.
well, I was also going to say that a lot of people will take Convection at 1 and then go Fury of the Sunwell at 16 because those talents have the same picture, and of course you got to pick the same talents with the same picture, otherwise they would be different, and it's just like a matching game. I would
Yeah.
argue that Ignite is actually better if you take
Oh, really?
Convection because you're already doing increased damage with your Qs, and then you get a free living bomb on that person.
True.
That's a lot of guaranteed damage, and they can't run away from the living bomb. So that might just force someone out of the fight completely.
True. You know what? It's a great point. If you're at a Sunwell, it's not really going to hit a fleeing target twice. It's not possible. So by grabbing the Ignites, you're making the Convection cube better. I like it.
Yeah,
Also,
sorry, what were you gonna say?
uh, with Ignites, all of a sudden, Kael'thas gains access to a lethal long-range combo. Toss a Empowered Q, you hit it, big damage, the Living Bomb is on them, great, and then you're Pyroblasting them as you're doing it. In fact, you can even do a
Ah,
DQ and then Pyroblast. If it lands, you let it fly. If it doesn't land, you just cancel the Pyroblast because now, they're not taking enough damage. This is a quick way to dispatch a long-range hero, and they're very squishy. It always kills them.
always kills a Nova. Always
Yeah.
kills a Hanzo.
Yeah. I don't think there's any backliner in the game, with the exception of maybe the ones with access to spell armor, can survive this kind of combo. Especially if you've already prepped yourself with a Sunfire enchant. It's very easy for you to take the 2 attacks on the tank and then puncture into the backline with this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite strong in that regard. It also makes you much more dangerous when the healer is dead. But the fact that there's bombs going around, it makes you much stronger at poking.
Love Ignite. Love this talent.
Yeah.
Fantastic talent. Amazing talent.
Yep. Plus, if you've been getting a lot of Sun King's Fury value, Ignite is great, and Ignite is also a free instance of Pyromaniac, which means, yeah, your Q literally gives you free CDR, and then you got a second bomb going off. You could do a Q, W, W, triple bombs. You got no cooldowns. It's crazy.
Just don't miss.
Don't miss. Put a little bit more emphasis on landing your Q because it has the Ignite value on it. Without further ado, that's the power of Ignites. Twin Spheres. Verdant Spheres gains a second charge, and passively you gain benefits from all of your 7s.
I
I
mean,
like
Twin
Twin
Spheres is
Spheres.
okay. It's
Yeah,
okay. It can work.
I,
It's
I
not
think,
like you're not gonna like lose out on all that much if you go Twin Spheres, depending on what the enemy. I guess depending on what the enemy team comp looks like.
yeah, if you're fighting a lot of front lines, like beefy front lines where Kael'thas kind of struggles with like damage throughput, he's kind of bad when dealing with tanky targets. Twin Spheres is a way to give yourself more gas. By giving yourself an additional charge, you could do something like a empowered tornado, and then if you want, you could do a double bomb or an empowered Q. You've got a bomb going off, and also with all of your level 7s in play, you've got Sunfire enchantment naturally, and you're going to have Sun King's Fury, you're going to have Burn Flesh. So all of a sudden, you've got huge AoE damage. If the enemies stick around, technically this is probably your highest source of AoE damage on this tier. Assuming Fear of the Sunwell doesn't proc, but that's not guaranteed, and Twin Spheres, it just gives you the value all the time.
Yes. Yeah. It turns you. I mean, you're gonna be standing relatively close to the fight, just with Kael'thas' kit, anyways. But once we get to 20, I think the Twin Sphere value drops off just a little bit with a specific talent pick. But I
I
don't
do
I don't
agree.
think Twin Spheres is bad at all. I think you can do crazy damage, especially if you have multi-target stuns. Like if people are just clumped together, it can go kind of nuts.
Yeah. The really underslept value of it is not to use both of your traits at once, but in reality, you're using it both for your enchanted tornadoes. You really need
Yes.
Energy Royal if you pick Twin Spheres. If you're picking Netherwind, well, you're probably moving into Ignite either way, so it's a perfect synergy there. But if you pick up Energy Royal, there's a real chance you pick Twin Spheres. You toss an Empowered Tornado out, you press W afterwards, so Pyromaniac is now cooldowning your E. You wait for an opportunity for it to land on multiple targets, and then you do a Q in the epicenter. Hopefully you score Burn Flesh value off of that. And then, uh, 2.5 seconds elapse, you're going to toss out a second Empowered Tornado. And hopefully by the fact that the enemies have been immobilized due to your tornadoes, they should still be in the same area more or less, which will leave them open to a second tornado going through all of them.
If they survive everyone wailing on them, yeah.
Yeah. It's a 50-50 chance they survive. Multi-man tornado is great. Doesn't always score you a pick, but if you it doesn't always score you the team fight win. But if you do a twin spheres, it will definitely settle things for certain because
That'd be crazy.
yeah, twin spheres is exclusively a talent I pick in games where there's a lot of front lines and I just need more output because having more W's, having more bigger Qs for burn flesh value, it's a lot of straight-faced value. But if there's it's a balanced composition. Sometimes there's frontline, sometimes there's backline. Ignite is so much better in my opinion. It's easier to work with, and it makes the rest of your abilities much better.
Ignite is a very strong poke tool with reliable damage. Twin spheres can do more damage, but is more conditional.
Yeah, I see it the same way. Honestly, that's probably the recap right there. I don't think we even have to go over it.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, 16, we strongly recommend Ignites. If you're a little bit spicy, you pick Fury of the Sunwell, or you pick Twin Spheres. Alrighty, is it time for level 20?
Level 20.
Let's go. Rebirth. Increases the Phoenix duration by 100%, so it's doubled into 14 seconds. And whilst it's alive, the Phoenix may be ordered to move to a different location, up to 3 times. Fox, do you remember when I first had the idea of making this have unlimited movement? Well,
Yeah. Just chase people down.
Yeah, and now, I changed it in such a way that it has to be repositioned around Kael'thas to prevent you from, chasing forever, because that would be kind of OP.
Wow.
But
I mean, that's hilarious.
It is hilarious, but they kind of did it, and they did. I never thought this talent would be buffed, but they did it, and they gave it 3 charges, so it can actually reposition around the battlefield. 3 times is more than enough. You want to keep it in stealth, to do its right clicks. You don't want it moving all the time, so that's perfect. Wow. Regardless,
It is a lot of fun to chase people down with Rebirth.
Oh yeah, it is very entertaining. I actually gotta give them props for this. But all things considered, Rebirth is it's massive cope. Phoenix is not the strongest heroic in the game, and although this is on paper kind of good, hey, you're doubling the duration. Doubling the duration is not like doubling the damage. Sure, you're denying an area longer and you're stalling twice as long. You're still contending with the fact that you're only dealing 150 damage a second at this point in the game? Every 1 second.
It's not fantastic.
Yeah, it's not fantastic. Every 1 second is not enough. If this were condensed in that you're dealing twice as much damage in the same time frame, that would be a lot better, because a enemy hero is only going to be in the Phoenix area for maybe 3 to 4 attacks and then they get out. Doubling the duration does you nothing. Not really. But hey, you can
Not really.
You can make it fly after them, so yeah.
Yeah, you can chase them down. It is kind of funny to see people move out of the Phoenix and then it moves right onto their position, and then they're like, "Wait, why, how?" And then they run away again, and then you move it again, and then they run away again, and then you move it again, and then they run away again, you move it again, and they're just they're 3 screens away being run down by a bird.
That's right. I'm not sure if it's scored any kills since it's been
no,
patched.
it can pressure people out of a fight because they just don't expect it, but it's not it's not fantastic. I would only ever take this if I go Twin Spheres, if I go trait build and full spell power. That's kind of the only reason I would upgrade the Phoenix. Because there's one particular talent that is just so awesome and amazing, but we'll get to that.
Saving best for last here, but yeah, I agree with you. I pick it in the same builds I pick Twin Spheres, and it's because of a frontline heavy team, in which case there's no point in getting the additional range from Flamethrower, so I'm like, yeah, let me do Rebirth, because this is something, it gives you value, and then the repositioning also helps you in threatening the backline. You can toss it through the team, and then they might decide, oh, I'm so clever, I'll just take this other hallway, and then you block it off again with the Phoenix, and then suddenly you make it very uncomfortable for the enemy team. They have to choose how to deal with the Phoenix, and you're also making the Phoenix attack a higher priority target than the enemy tank. And hey, if it's stuck attacking the tank, just move it out of the way, or move it back into range.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not bad. Rebirth is not bad. The thing is, you need a mid. It shines best in a mid-range scenario. Close range is also good because There is an event, a Zeratul jumps you, and you picked Phoenix because of the game state. And if you pick Phoenix, if you die instantly, at the very least, Rebirth is going to give you one last source of value before your flame extinguishes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't, Rebirth like the Phoenix does, so you really are gone, but this is what
Could you
Rebirth does.
imagine?
It turns you into a cactus. Hey, you can attack Kael'thas, but it's going to come at great cost.
It's gonna hurt.
It's going to hurt. Stand on fire, baby. But yeah, it's a meagling, it's a middling type upgrade. If you pick it up, there's a real chance you might feel in the back of your mind, hey, the game state is not really improving. Like, it's not like I'm having a higher percentage of win rate because I picked Rebirth. So it's just a mediocre upgrade. It's fun with the recent change to make it three moves. So I would say give it a whirl, and it's not that bad. So yeah, it's fine. It's just fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Nothing more to say. Let's talk about presence of mind, though. Increases Pyroblast explosion radius by 50%. Who cares? Heroes that are hit by Flame Strike or have Living Bomb spread will reduce the cooldown of Pyroblast by 10 seconds.
Not insignificant. Not
It's
insignificant.
10 seconds
But
is a big deal, and it happens pretty frequently, too. But, continue.
yeah, but how many times are you gonna get Pyroblast off in a team fight?
At most, twice.
Realistically.
Yeah.
Realistically. Yeah, so
Or more like
at that point,
1.5 times.
let's say what, you reduce it by like 40 seconds, maybe you get a really nice flame strike, and then you have the bomb spread twice, reduce it by 40 seconds, so it's a minute cooldown on par with the Phoenix. That's still more than enough time for everyone to have all of their tricks back up so that they can block the second Pyroblast.
Yeah.
Like, you look at this, the cooldown reduction, and be like, oh, I'll get like 2 Pyroblasts off per fight. Yeah, no, you won't. Not really. You'll just have it ready for every fight, more likely.
Yeah, that's more realistic. Technically, you could do a cheeky combo where you're like, okay, I'm gonna initiate the fight with Pyroblast. Hey, you're front loading as much damage as you can, and hey, like 2,500 damage is a big deal. That's 2,500 damage less that your team needs to do in order to execute a target. So, and then from that point on, hey, it's before all of your abilities. Now you cast your abilities. You're starting to have it spread, do Qs, blah blah blah. At that point, you get max value from Presence of Mind. But even then, even if the stars align, it's very, very hard to get a second Pyroblast in the same fight. It just means you use this in picking scenarios and every like minor skirmish and objective. You'll have this ready. That's it.
Yeah, don't let your love of balls blind you. This is not that great of a pick.
Yeah, I really wished this Presence of Mind, because what is the definition of presence of mind? Presence of mind means you're on top of things. You're thinking about everything at once, right? That's not what's happening here. I really wish this were like a speed up, like an accelerator. Hey, the cast time goes up, and hey, the movement speed of the Pyroblast goes up significantly. So it becomes actually a viable ability to cast mid-fight. Because in Hearthstone, when you Pyroblast somebody, it goes right away. No questions asked. It would feel nice to be a fire mage and you shove out a fireball quickly, right?
What if it turns it into just a ground target area explosion?
Eh,
Maybe it doesn't do the full damage of the Pyroblast, but it'd be kind of funny.
That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I agree. Send it out because of the Zarya bomb. Keep the radius. Maybe make it 75% damage. I think it's too gimmicky in my opinion. The fact that Pyroblast is a point and click is probably its best, feature of the ability. It's very reliable. So I think you'd have to put it onto an extra hotbar, and I'm not sure how interesting that would be. I think like making it so that Kael'thas becomes a combo mage. Every ability you cast, especially with Pyromania and your enhanced Ws, and you stack up buffs on yourself that make this come out faster afterwards. I think that'd be really cool. Now there's two ways of doing it. You can either front load it, hey, max damage, max cooldown reduction value, or you do it on the back foot. Hey, you've seen abilities get cast, ice blocks go off, and you have a very comfortable window where you can toss out the Pyroblast quickly, and it actually reaches the target before the healer has something to say about it. And yeah, it would make it a lot better of an ability. I think Pyroblast really deserves it. At level 20, it's probably at its worst, even though it does its most damage because of the scaling. this is the talent tier in which every hero is going to have their max arsenal. Most ice blocks, most armor, especially 20, has a lot of armor increasing abilities. They're going to have armor, they're going to have stasis, they're going to have ice blocks, they're going to have all sorts of nasty stuff that's going to counter your thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I wish presence of mind, hey, you see a target go low, you actually have the opportunity to stop what you're doing and press Pyroblast. Because even if you see the target that's low, you kind of can't do it in front of the enemy team because you can get interrupted or stopped or jumped on, and then now you're the fool for being so greedy at Pyroblasting them point blank. But presence of mind, maybe, if it were faster. I don't know. My 2 cents.
Unfortunately, we live in reality and not what could be.
Yeah. Janitor, hear me. This is the one change I want. More than anything.
Monkey's paw curls.
Yeah, I know he's not listening, but it is what it is. Anyways, that's enough of presence of mind. Master of Flames. Your living bomb
Ah.
explosions can now also spread living bomb. We also forgot to neglect an important factor. The spread from living bomb will not chain, so it's primary target, then secondary target, and then secondary target stops. It doesn't go to a third target. But Master of Flames does. What do you think?
Yeah, this talent suffers from the same problem as Fission Bomb in that the entire game you've been training people to spread out or take a bajillion points of free damage. So you're not likely to get much value from Master of Flames because everyone is expecting to be on fire and
Mm-hmm.
explode.
Yeah.
And if at this point they are being chain bombed over and over again, you're probably only going to get like one extra explosion before everybody dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Honestly,
that's like really niche.
it's very, very niche. Exactly like how you say. At level 20, you have one last team fight before the game could end. And there's no guarantees you're going to see value for Master Flames. Even though it enhances the basic ability, you only make use of this in team fights, and there can only be one team fight, which means everything needs to be done on this one team fight. And honestly, at
Yeah.
this point in the game, like you say, they've been conditioned not to stand next to each other. Even if it's the secondary bomb, they're still going to do good practice in not spreading the secondary bomb. Yeah, they don't spread they're not going to spread the third bomb. That's not what happens, but they
It
avoid
doesn't
the
happen.
splash damage. And
It
yeah,
just doesn't happen. People are ready for it. They're waiting for it. They have all their defensives. They have everywhere in the
hmm
map to go. It doesn't happen. It just
yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't
happen.
happen. Yeah, it's such a shame that we wait until 20 for a pretty interesting core mechanic change, but at this point in the game, it doesn't matter. And plus, it's honestly way too difficult. Good players are going to prioritize not spreading the bomb at all costs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Moving on to Flamethrower.
Oh, you
Increases the
mean the only
cast.
talent to pick at level 20? Oh, crazy.
Yeah. Increases the cast range of your Q by 40%. If Flame Strike hits 2 or more heroes, reduces cooldown by 4 seconds. So, first off, that 40% range increase is massive. Now you can cast your Q out of vision and over walls and poking enemy heroes.
Yeah.
Like, it's big. It's crazy.
Surprise! Now you're on
Mm-hmm.
fire.
Yep, and this allows Kael'thas to interact with the enemy backline. You're in the safety of your own backline, and you can interact with the enemies all the way from over there. And it is strong. And now this is a way for you to puncture into the enemy team using Ignite. So you got the backline spreading, you got the front line spreading. There's no safe havens. Someone's going to get spread upon.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But even more than that, if you manage to hit 2 or more heroes, you get even more cooldown reduction.
Yep. So if you've been doing burn flesh combos throughout the game, this is going to feel very natural for you. And yet again, this prioritizes yet another reason why you want to enhance your Q at the late game. You got Ignite, maybe you got Burn Flesh, maybe you got Sun King's Fury, and you want to make sure your Ignite goes through so you hit the Q. And with Flamethrower, if you increase the radius of your Q, now there's a higher chance of scoring the cooldown reduction on your Q. And it's really, really, really good. Like, if you get the cooldown reduction, like,
Ridiculously good.
it'll get you a second cast onto the same target and apply the Living Bomb again. Or you splash a second group, and it keeps chaining.
It is in a perfect world if you have all of your bombs out and you hit 2 targets with your flamethrower. I think it's like a 1.5 second cooldown, but I have reliably
Mm-hmm.
gotten 2-second cooldown Qs.
Yeah,
Not even trying all that difficult. No, it's not even that hard
it's not even
to
hard.
reduce the cooldown of your flame strike to like 2 seconds.
That's right. And if you've been doing good on our word on trying to maximize your trade value onto your E, you should have a good clumpage of targets, and then you don't even need to enhance your Q to score the flamethrower value.
Exactly.
hmm Oh man, it's flamethrower is really really strong. It opens up new avenues for Kael'thas. It allows him to do the long range kill combo I mentioned. Hey, you got flamethrower, you press Q from range. You can also pyroblast from range because it's range 20, and now you got like a range 16 Q.
Mm-hmm. It can also help you stall out games. Like if there's big minion pressure
Yes.
on your waves and your entire team is dead and the enemy is pushing, you can
hmm
safely destroy their little army of minions and they can't even touch you. And it
Exactly.
can help buy enough time for your team to respawn.
Yeah, this is actually one of Kael'thas' strong points in the late game too. It's really annoying when you face into it, is that he can continuously clear the minion waves, and because of modern forts, they're much stronger into compositions without minion waves because they shred more armor. They're way better, and it's harder to die at
Oh
the
yeah.
Kael'thas.
Oh yeah.
hmm
Just more range is good.
More range
More
is
range is
good,
good. I would take this even if it didn't have the cooldown reduction,
right?
simply
Yeah,
because it had that range.
yeah. But the fact that it has cooldown reduction means it also dramatically increases your damage potential with your Q, and besides, you're putting your W's on your Q, and that increases your cooldown reduction, which means, yeah, it cooldown reduction to create more cooldown reduction to create more abilities, which yeah, it's a it's a feedback loop you've never seen before.
Oh gee, I hope you have enough mana to cast all these Qs.
Yeah, uh, that's a mana addict, man. Yeah, at this point in the game, like you have like 1,300 mana too. So Kael'thas, this is why Kael'thas is okay early game. He actually does have a lot of presence early game compared to other mages, but I think his late game is way better than his early game.
I agree.
Yeah, with that,
Those last couple of talents just sent him over the edge.
exactly. Even though he's got like terrible talent variety like late game, I think he still has some really grand talents that just make it all worth it. hmm Yeah, so if you want to win games, you pick Flamethrower. Never Master of Flames unless you're doing Bomb Factory Garrosh, and there's so much displacements. Like your whole team is full of knockbacks. Sure, maybe this works out great. Presence of
Make some
mind,
shenanigans.
not really. If Pyroblast is good, then I guess, but if Pyroblast is bad, which is most often the case, enhancing it does not solve the problem. And then Rebirth, yeah, it's good. It's not bad. If you don't need like the range from Flamethrower, which I think is the more important factor of the two, sure. And if you're really not landing any multi-man Qs, sure. Rebirth gives you at least some value at level 20.
Yeah, pretty much always flamethrower. You have to justify rebirth, and don't even look at the other two.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, those are Kael'thas' talents. Fox, do you have any builds for Kael'thas you'd like to share with us?
Not really, because we sort of went over
hmm
what is strong in what specific scenarios. I can tell you
Yeah.
what I pick for most games. Like if I'm just brain off gaming and I'm not really thinking about the enemy team comp or my team comp, I usually go mana addict at 1, and then energy royal, and then sunfire enchantment, pyroblast, pyromaniac, ignite, and flamethrower.
hmm Yeah.
It's just it's not particularly good at anything, but it's kind of good at everything.
Yeah. If the game allows it, this is Kael'thas at his peak, in my opinion.
Yeesh.
Otherwise, sometimes you might see a variation of the build. I would do Mana Edict, Netherwind, sometimes your other level 7s, but it's usually level 7. Your choice of 10s, and then same thing, it's Pyromaniac, it's Ignite, it's Flamethrower. Yeah, just two tiny variations of the same build. Do you want more range to deal with them at range, or do you want more close range value?
Yeah, he's a really robust hero that can perform well in a lot of situations, but doesn't quite have anything to help him stand out compared to other
Yeah,
mages.
I suppose. I think his one real standout is one, he's good into summoners, and B, he's very good at punching AoE healers, and C, clustered compositions. Like if the enemy team is very much a brick formation, Kael'thas works pretty well. I think he works well into double healer comps, but all of these factors are not really in meta, and because of that, Kael'thas is not super meta.
I was gonna say, wow, you seeing double healers? Where are they?
Yeah, they never happen these days. Maybe back in the day when Tassadar was still supports, during those times it was a little bit more acceptable. I think Kael'thas might have been better back then, but I don't know what the meta was like back then, if you ask me.
Mish.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess there might be a third build which might include Twin Spheres. I will detail it now. Mana Addict, Angie Royal. Your choice of 7 doesn't matter. You're going to get both, like all 3. Phoenix, Pyromaniac, Twin Spheres, probably Rebirth, but you could make a case for Flamethrower or Master of Flames. It's probably Rebirth, though, in this type of build. Pure Gas, no stopping on the brakes, unlimited damage, but no range. There is no range on this build, so if you gotta interact with the enemy backline, it's not something you could do. But
Yeah.
go with Fox's build here. I do like Pyroblast a little bit more than Phoenix, but you're kind of forced out of it more times than not. And then be open with your 4s and 7s, and you should be all good to go.
You got to justify Pyroblast. You have to find a reason. You can't
That's right.
just Pyroblast because it's a fun spell that makes a big explosion. You have to be like, okay, I'm specifically baiting out these abilities, or I'm gonna force this hero out, or I'm gonna try to make space against this guy. It's like you need a reason to Pyroblast. You can't just do it because it's fun. Are you crazy? Playing a video game because
No.
it's fun? Get
Absolutely
out of
not.
here.
We're only try-harding in Heroes of Storm. There's no casual gamers left. We've killed the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. But yeah, that's all the talents. Let's talk about hero synergies and then we'll call it a day. Who is your best friend as Kael'thas?
Joanna.
Totally agree.
Joanna is my best friend. She helps me spread bombs. She helps me trigger burned flesh. She gets people off my back. She blinds divers. Joanna is my favorite tank to have on my team.
Big time. I'll give honorable mentions to Garrosh. I do like Mei. I do like Stitches a fair amount. Since you have a form of stunning, that complements the hook very well. So Stitches is actually not terrible with Kael'thas. And then ETC also gets special mentions. If he slides through a team, that gives you a perfect opportunity to do a Verdant Spheres comboed with your Tornado. That should go all the way through them. And then Mei with Ice Wall or Avalanche, both very strong if you're confident in your Mei's abilities and making her work, she works great.
Who else?
As for bruisers, probably you probably want more CC oriented type style.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Generally I'm just happy that there's another person in front of me with the bruisers. I don't particularly try to combo off of anyone. I mean, maybe Gazlo. Who plays Gazlo? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Gazlo.
I was thinking
Imperius
the
is
same
pretty
thing.
nice because he can multi-stun things.
Yeah, Imperius is great because he also magnetizes everybody in the straight line if he lands a multi-Q.
Yeah. I don't. There's no bruiser that I'm like, oh, thank God he's on my team. It's just kind of nice to have someone else in front of me.
All these are nice to have. I would say probably a bruiser that's good at taking care of the map is good. I think Zool is probably pretty good in this regard. It gives you a reliable point-and-click CC. Also gives you... It takes control of the map. You never have to worry about camps or minion waves when Zool's around. He's going to be doing his thing.
Yeah. You want to clear waves from now and then, but you should really be with the team fight.
Yeah.
It's Kael'thas.
How about healers? Is there a specific one you want on your team?
I really like getting nano boost. That's always fun.
Every mage likes it.
A little bit biased.
That's how
But
it
I mean,
goes.
if I had to choose. Brightwing's also really fun. She can help set up your CC chains. Either you stun and then she polys, or she polys and then you stun.
True.
Deckard, also, if he gets a good root or a good slow off, sets up your tornado really nice. And Anduin is just generally good.
Yeah. Honestly, now that I'm looking at it, probably every single healer just works great with Kael'thas. Maybe with the exception of Lili and Kerosene.
Yeesh.
Or Morales, yeah. Malfurion is a special, like a special place in my heart. Roots and sleeps, oh my, and then you got extra mana. And cooler
I'm
reduction.
once again asking Blizzard, if you're watching, I'm once again asking you to give him Ice Block back. Please give Malfurion his Ice Block back. Please. Please. All he
uh,
needs.
that would be great, honestly. But yeah, that's the healers. Any assassins you want paired with Kael'thas?
Well, I usually run Kael'thas with Tychus, but that's just because
Hmm.
Overclock only plays Tychus.
I hear you. Yeah, it
Works
complements one
very
another.
well. He can burn people down with orange damage, then I can follow up with stuns and purple damage.
Yeah,
Pretty much anything along those lines, like a Vala or someone with high sustained damage, because you got
I
the
agree.
burst handled.
Yeah, Kael'thas will deliver all the burst damage you need. Doubling down on it is probably not a good idea. Because what happens when there is a fast-moving target that is burst resistant? Well, now you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Mm. Having the sustained damage, especially to deal with like bosses and really high health objectives, is very important because Kael'thas is kind of crap when it comes down to dealing with high health targets.
Honorable mention to Maiev.
Yes, Maiev
Hardly
is
ever see her,
actually
but she
insane.
works really well.
Great shout out, honestly. Kael'thas is all about the combos. Maiev is the ultimate combo setupper, so yeah, makes sense. And with that, I got no more to add here.
No, looks good to me.
It's good to me. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, I think that has been Kael'thas Overexplained. And I'm tired and I'm thirsty, and man, am I ready to be done.
Yeah, let's get out of
Mister,
here. Thanks for having me on, man.
absolutely, Mr. Fox, it's been a great pleasure having you on here. And to everybody that's been tuning in, this has been TheFreind, this has been Fox. Thank you for Kael'thas, I don't know, your Kael'thas tutelage. It's been a great pleasure having you all on.
My pleasure.
Bye, guys,
See ya.
and take care.